See, I tried to be the voice of reason. Shout outs to Zoe Williams. I tried to be the voice of reason, didn't I? Wasn't I the one before jury started that tried to warn Derek Xiao, the thousand dragon, Xiao Khan? I tried to warn this man. If you backdoor Christian, you are not only getting rid of your shield, someone who people might target before you, but you're also making it okay for people to backdoor you right back. Now understand, during week 5, when DX was getting all the accolades, all the credit in the world for what I personally believe is beta male based gameplay, but that's how I felt before there was ever a DX on Big Brother. I want that to be stated. I never agreed with backdoors. I've always thought backdoors were whack. I've always said this. I said this during DX's HOH week, and I'm going to say it now even though DX is being taken out. So even though this rant is entitled Backdoor Karma, I'm going to keep it all the way a bean, and I'm not going to forget who I've always been. I hate this strategy, and we're going to get into Derek Levasseur towards the end of this rant, but if people want to go into what should be changed in this game, I think backdoor should be changed. Okay, I think that's the one thing that should be changed. Now here's the thing. I think Big Brother Canada 9 kind of got this a little bit right because they didn't allow their HOHs to compete for veto. So there was no way to sweep the week. You had to have a fantastic social game your HOH week during BB Can 9 because you couldn't guarantee those noms stayed on the block. It was 5 people each week that competed for veto during that season. I remember. But I don't want to lose myself. In this rant, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to break down how Derek Xiao choosing to backdoor Christian created so much animosity from Alyssa, so much animosity from Xavier. Even though Xavier was willing to sacrifice Christian for the betterment of the 6 because he is a team player, Xavier is a guy who can forgive but won't forget. Understand, Xavier knew that Tiffany and Hannah had DX in their plans. Xavier knew DX needed to go for the 6 to make final 6. And in this rant, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to break down why DX created his own worst possible scenario this week for himself. And in this rant, I'm also going to explain to you all why Tiffany's chokes week to week also contributed to why DX is in the most vulnerable state he has ever been since week 1. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, you know this is going to be a good rant with my intro that long. To the critically acclaimed, the Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon exclusively sponsored Hall of Fame. Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. I'm, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smith Dog Trill, The Rant God, Hotep Thanos, Throne Thanos, Metro Kaiba, the Pro Black Prodigy, the Shadow Realm Shaman, the Pronoun Punisher, the No Sleep Assassin, here to bring balance back to Big Brother US, Season 23, all of the above, on that ISAT test, and ACT, you know what it is. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, for another deep dive. Oh, it's about to go down tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I tried to warn people this would happen. They tried to act like Negro Damas wasn't Negro Damas. They tried to act like the rant god didn't know what he was talking about. You know, from this point on, I might as well say Austin 316 because I swear I be on point. I swear my predictions be on point. You know what I mean? But in this rant, ladies and gentlemen, the 25th rant entitled Backdoor Karma, through great detail, I think I've probably taken as many notes for this rant as I did for the earlier weeks. So this is going to be a jam-packed rant here. I'm going to break down through great detail all of the different things I noticed this week. How well SB crafted her HOH to trick DX out the streets. Can we keep it a bean? SB, the gameplay she implemented, understand. Everybody wants to say this is Kylan's HOH. No, we got to give Sarah Beth Biles her credit. Let's keep it real. Kylan had some ideas that didn't make no sense that would have told DX he was going up. SB had to dead a lot of that stuff, shut it down, get him back on side, and get down with her demonstration for a better implementation of her strategy. And because of that, DX never saw this coming. And what did I tell y'all in the last rant? I said SB winning this HOH was the perfect scenario for DX not to see this coming, for DX to not compete for roulette. Now, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. While we can say SB backdoor DX, while we can say DX has karma, we also cannot act like DX did not have multiple chances to save himself this week because of the high roller room. At the end of the day, DX had more than enough money because of America's vote to save his own neck. He could have saved himself and Claire this week, but he got greedy. So in this rant, I'm going to explain to you all, him being so thirsty to have the coup d'etat is why he's not even going to make it to the coup d'etat week. And this should really be a lesson to any fan of the game. Do not count your chickens before they hatch, okay? If you have the opportunity to secure safety for this week, do not risk the biscuit because you might not make it to next week. And that's real talk. Now, I want to get into these notes early and often, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to waste your time. I don't even want to provide too much of opinion without the notes to back it up, okay? I'm going to bring you all through chronological order. From Thursday night, when HOH was first crowned, all the way up to right now, where DX knows the Shadow Realm awaits, you know. Tiffany, that argument you had with Big D, in my opinion, is playing a role, a huge role, in why no one is talking to you this week. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany, the social butterfly, no one's talking to her this week because they know DX or Claire has to go. So, Tiffany, if you would have just let Claire leave last week, I'd argue people would be talking to you this week. Now your game is taking residual damage because of Operation Save Claire. Understand, accountability is necessary. Now, in this rant, we're going to get into the notes now, but let me take a swig of water first because, man, this is going to be a journey I'm going to take y'all on. I'm going to take y'all on this journey. Now, hear me out because I think this will be the best storytelling of what this week will entail. All right, here we go. This is Thursday night. SB becoming the new HOH has a lot of people scrambling. Tiffany and Hannah are terrified about being targeted, but they aren't even on SB's hit list right now. SB seems more focused on taking out Alyssa. So it's on Kylan to convince SB to backdoor DX over Alyssa. So Kylan does deserve credit this week as well, ladies and gentlemen. At the start of the week, SB seemed to be very fixated on a beef with Alyssa, believing she hasn't forgiven her over the Christian stuff. It took Kylan and a little bit of Xavier. I think these two definitely did some Harlem Heat Booker T type action. Stevie Ray. They did a tag team on SB to get her to see the light. So both of them deserve some credit, but I'm going to give Kylan the majority of credit because he spent more time with her. But let's continue. So it's on Kylan to convince SB to backdoor DX over Alyssa. SB targeting Alyssa would be as much of a choke job as Faisal targeting Scotty. It makes no sense for her long-term game. Her and Alyssa are in the same position, arguably. Best thing for SB is to take out DX so the jackpot need her more, and so Hannah has no huge shield in front of her. Kylan speaks to SB around 7:40 p.m. He admits he feels better than he did after week 2 because SB won this HOH. SB says she doesn't know who she trusts more between DX and Alyssa. Kylan throws it out there that it benefits DX and Xavier more to keep 3 competitive males around him. So he is slow playing this to imply he wants DX gone for his individual game without straight up saying it. SB is worried that Alyssa is still mad at her from week 5, but the truth is, Alyssa is a level-headed player that is also happy SB won this. Alyssa even pointed out how Tiffany was visibly angry when DX didn't win the HOH. Alyssa plans to tell SB about this during their one-on-one. Kylan is showing so much loyalty to Tiffany that she doesn't even deserve by pitching to SB that they make a Final Four deal with Claire and Tiffany now. SB believes it's easier to beat Claire and Tiffany than any other duo left. SB isn't sure DX and Xavier wouldn't betray her just like Claire and Tiffany, but she is more confident Claire and Tiffany can be beaten. This is a very logical argument coming from Sarah Beth Biles. SB tells Kylan her plan for her one-on-ones. She plans to make Jackpot think she's with them till Final Four in Kings. She wants to see who they throw under the bus and asks what they would do to make them feel included. She will ask if they want the power used this week, and she will ask which noms would create the most likely scenario that the power is flushed. Kylan agrees this is very smart. Kylan tells SB she can use this information to determine who should go after Veto if they don't keep their word by going for the roulette if she asks them to. Also, Sarah Beth plans to ask them if they will be willing to play if they are nominees and if they can afford it. She also wants to ask DX who told him Alyssa was trying to flip the vote during week 5 and week 6. That seems to be why SB doesn't trust Alyssa now. Kylan wisely tells SB that DX is likely to blame it on Brittany because she's no longer here to defend herself. Then SB says maybe she won't ask about it because then she can say DX or Alyssa lied, depending on who she decides to backdoor. Kylan says he wanted Brittany to go because if she had one veto and Joker's had both of those vetoes, it would have ruined his game last week. He has a better relationship with Alyssa, so he chose to keep her safe, and he hopes SB also keeps her safe because she has a role to play. SB also makes it known to Kylan that Tiffany and Claire almost took out Big D. This should make Kylan want DX out more because Tiffany and Claire are doing way too much scheming. Now, around 8:30 p.m., SB gets her one-on-one with Alyssa. This talk was very important to have first because I think it made SB more comfortable with targeting DX. Alyssa starts off the talk telling SB how pissed Tiffany was because DX didn't win HOH. They both admit when it was only Xavier left, they were relieved because he's on their side. SB says she wants the power used, and Alyssa says she agrees. SB tells Alyssa she doesn't want to send her home. She doesn't want to send home her, Kylan, or Xavier this week. This roulette spin will throw up someone randomly. This is why I want the cookout to win it and take off Big D if he's the pawn this week. That way, no matter what, two black people aren't on the block at the same time. SB knows there is a 1 out of 6 chance that Xavier or Kylan end up on the block if Alyssa wins roulette. Alyssa knows Kai and SB are on $0 currently, so if she plays this week, Xavier will be the only one with money left. If Alyssa doesn't get at least $75 this week, she doesn't even have enough money to go for the roulette because she only had 50 from a week ago when it cost $125. So Xavier may have to spend his just because he is the only one that can. Well, now that this veto has happened, he can't even spend no more money, and we'll get to that. But anyway, SB and Alyssa laugh about how there is supposed to be other opportunities to get BB bucks, but they haven't seen them yet. Alyssa and SB both want Xavier to save his money so he can win the secret HOH to protect everyone next week. This would guarantee them final 8. Tiffany throwing that minor temper tantrum after DX lost the HOH comp has really exposed her game to Alyssa. Now I think Alyssa sees Tiffany's game for what it really is because she didn't think she was that close to DX prior to this. Tiffany's game is crumbling slowly, especially if SB pulls off this DX backdoor, because now Alyssa and SB both know Tiffany doesn't have either of them in her late game plans. Tiffany is lucky SB views her as a weak player in comps. That's the only reason why SB wants you to stick around, Tiffany, because you appear to be weak. Not because you're loyal, not because she respects your game, but because she thinks she can wash you. Yeah, that's not even a compliment. But anyway, Alyssa then proves how smart she is by exposing Claire's agenda. Claire was trying to get Alyssa to nominate Kai and SB this week if she was HOH so the power wouldn't be used. But Alyssa's point of view on this is, why shouldn't she want the power to be used? This also shows Claire isn't playing as good as she thinks she is. In the first few minutes of this conversation, Alyssa is showing me she is more threatened by Tiffany and Claire than Ozza now. Great for Ozza's game. Ozza losing Brittany has been so good for her game. A lot of other duos to focus on than her and Big D. SB knows her, Claire, and Kylan can't afford to play this week, so she is trying to work it so she controls who plays. SB believes nominating Big D forces him to go for roulette, which keeps him from secret HOH. Both agree DX is the only other player with 100 BB bucks left in the game. Alyssa tells SB that people think the potential 100-buck getters will be Alyssa, Ozza, Big D, and Xavier, but Alyssa should have driven the point home that DX will get 100 again. Alyssa pretty much told SB she can't let DX get anywhere near that secret HOH twist by saying he will keep it if he gets at least 75 this week. Now, DX got 100 again, so he pretty much is already set up no matter what to qualify for Coin of Destiny, and this is more of a reason why he has to go this week. I know some fans would prefer Claire leaving, but y'all should have let her go last week. Now, I tried to tell y'all. If you try to hold on to something, eventually you're going to have to let something go that you don't want to have to let go first, Alyssa asks if SB is trying to nom people who will play, and does she want them to win or lose? SB says it doesn't matter as long as lots of people are willing to play. Alyssa promises she will play for roulette if SB wants her to. I think Alyssa may have been the only person who kept this promise to SB. I think, Tiffany, technically she didn't lie. Tiffany only got 50 BB bucks this week. So for all the people thinking I was a little too hard on her last week, turns out the majority of fans agree with me because they didn't reward her for the tap dancing. So I don't have an agenda. I just call it how I see it. And other fans, and you can't blame me for why thousands and thousands and thousands and millions of fans didn't care about Tiffany. I think her making Brittany the target over Claire. Brittany has a huge influence, especially amongst the TikTok community. This also influenced why Ozza got a little bit more money this week. I think her getting Brittany out did a huge disservice to Tiffany's reputation by a lot of fans, not just black fans, because we're already looking at her side eye. Now the way she did Brittany got non-black fans looking at her side eye. I'd argue her approval rating is as low as it's ever been right now. Now, SB then wraps it up by asking if there is anything else Alyssa wants to tell her. Then Alyssa goes for the jugular by pointing out how Tiffany and Claire betrayed Christian for DX. How it's so obvious those three are working together. How DX would have never done that alone. How we wouldn't have taken advice from jokers to get out Christian. How we needed the authorization to do it from someone who was within royal flush. Pay attention here, okay? Alyssa is saying some real stuff here. Alyssa finally figured out what Christian tried to tell her during week 5 about Tiffany and Claire. Remember I pointed out how Alyssa was so fixated on SB being the snitch, when in all reality it was always Tiffany, but they couldn't realize it was Tiffany? Now she is implementing Christian's talking points effectively. And when you add how SB wants both Tiff and Claire as well as Alyssa and Xavier in Final 8, SB has to go for DX this week because he keeps Tiff and Claire disloyal to the Jackpot Alliance. So understand, this isn't just a personal move for SB. This is very strategic. Because in her mind, taking DX out, now the only other person keeping Claire and Tiff further from her, in her mind, is Hannah. Alyssa passed this test with flying colors, considering she could have been the target over DX. Alyssa admits to wanting to nominate Tiff and Claire to backdoor DX if she had been HOH. This is what Xavier planned to do as well. Claire is the easy nom because she has no money and can't take herself off. Tiffany would go up because she is Claire's ride or die, and people would probably take her off. I wanted this outcome, but this would have made DX go for the roulette guaranteed, so in reality, this probably wasn't the best outcome for the 6. I think Big D next to Claire keeps it in the air whether DX chooses to save his money or not. Alyssa then says between the duos left of DX and Hannah, SB and Kai, Ozza and Big D, and Alyssa and X, she is on the bottom the most in Tiffany and Claire's game. This was a fantastic argument. Funny thing is, SB is actually on the bottom too, but she wants to go to the end with the women who want her out. This is all super ironic. Alyssa's read on the house is pretty good, but her mistake is in not realizing Hannah is with Tiffany, Claire, and DX. I'm confused how Hannah can spend all her time around them, but Alyssa doesn't include her in that group. Outside of that, Alyssa is on point. She even said to SB that what SB needs to hear, that her and Kylan are on the bottom just as much as Alyssa is with Tiffany and Claire. The way they cut Christian tells Alyssa they were after SB and Kylan for similar reasons. Alyssa was spitting bars here. Brittany needs to take notes. Now, Alyssa leaves the one-on-one, making SB feel great because she shared a lot of truthful information. She also promised to go for roulette as long as she gets more than 50 this week. Then she will get X to do it on both of their behalves to back up their 4. Tiffany is next to get her one-on-one. She tries so hard to act like she's a feminist all of a sudden because SB is HOH. I mean, Tiffany was super uncomfortable in this one-on-one. I've never seen her this uncomfortable. She starts stuff off by acting like there are tons of strong men in the house that SB should go after to help the jackpot. But because she waited for SB to mention jackpot to her, it told SB that Tiffany isn't serious about jackpot enough. So that's something for y'all to take into account as well. If Tiffany is super close to DX and knows Kylan is close to SB, she is basically saying to SB she can target Xavier. If you read between the lines, that's what's being said because she never threw DX under the bus, even though he threw SB on the block, and there was game reasoning for Tiffany to denounce her loyalty to DX by bashing him even a little bit. This also tells me she doesn't want to lose the chance at 100 more BB bucks next week so she can possibly play for the secret HOH. Pay attention. And this was before she got 50 this week. So understand, this was before Tiffany got humbled and realized her stuff stank. Before this, she thought she could just shout at Big D and get rewarded for it. So now she knows, oh, I messed up. I need to talk to cams a little bit more and let people know I'm on code. That's what's going on, but let's continue. SB tells Tiffany she hopes someone from the jackpot won HOH. She is placating to Tiffany's ego well here, keeping her completely off the scent of her paranoia of DX. SB says she wants this power flushed, and Tiffany says she wants the same thing. SB asks Tiffany if she isn't nominated, will she play for roulette? Tiffany says yes. So now Tiffany and Alyssa have promised to burn their money. Tiffany has no excuse if she doesn't burn it because she should feel threatened by an SB HOH. Also, she has more money than Alyssa. SB tells Tiffany she wants. SB tells Tiffany. Well, actually, Tiffany might not have more money than Alyssa. Let me take that back because she spent 50. She has 75. She has 25. Alyssa last week had 50 but didn't play. So actually, no, Alyssa does have $24 more than Tiffany. Let me make that quick correction on the fly. SB tells Tiffany she wants to nominate the people that will guarantee the power is used. Tiffany tells SB she may not have enough money to play. This is true because she brought her cape out last week for 6', 7' Claire. So Tiffany only has $25 heading into the next BB Bucks vote, meaning Tiffany would need 100 to even play for this roulette. So technically, she isn't lying by saying she might not have enough to play roulette, but this is why she had no business spending the 50 on Claire before a cookout member last week. Tiffany says if she gets 100, she will play. SB asks Tiffany who the jackpot should go after, and the first thing that comes out of Tiffany's mouth is the men. Then she says her and Claire are the most vulnerable just because Claire went up Claire went up 1 week. Cry me a river, Tiffany. The jackpot isn't even real. Both parties are just using it as a ceasefire plot device. Nobody feels sorry for them. They just push the game in this direction. I mean, Tiffany wants there to be a house target, but SB was that and she is safe. This reminds me of Christian's HOH week during week 4. Everybody wanted him out that week, but that team puzzle comp helped keep Christian safe until DX backdoored him. That week, everybody pivoted to bashing Whitney as a backup plan because the real house target was HOH. This is how SB's HOH reign is going as well. And this is why a lot of people are scared to talk game this week because they know a lot of them, in trying to keep Brittany last week over Big D, put their foot in their mouth a little bit by trying too hard to keep her over Big D. In trying to keep Brittany over Big D, it tells Kylan, it tells SB, you wanted Brittany to stay to come after Kylan and SB. So any person who is connected with even attempting to flip it to keep Brittany, all of them look funny style to SB and Kylan. And to Alyssa. And to Xavier to a little bit. Because all 4 of them wanted Brittany gone. They thought it made perfect sense. So understand, that's the psychology here. People are scared to throw others under the bus because a lot of people have dirt on each other. This is why Tiffany is being so vague. I wanted her in this moment to prove she is loyal to Jackpot by throwing DX under the bus to save her and Claire. But Tiffany won't do that because she wants DX to outlast Claire for an individual game. This selfishness could be what makes SB keep Claire more than DX, but Tiffany doesn't realize it. And here's another thing, Tiffany. If you wanted DX to survive this week so bad, you should have given him a fighting chance by throwing him under the bus to SB so SB would make him an initial nom. Then he would have at least fought in Veto no matter what and didn't have to play for roulette. I think Tiffany really dropped the ball here. I think when she got that 50 BB bucks, I think it defeated her a little bit. And it made her, all right, let me chill out. I really do feel that way, because she ain't really been tippy toes this week. Now, Tiffany says if she is going up, all that she asks is that she is told beforehand. SB tells her she would want the same in return, and then says she wants to really work with Jackpot moving forward. So Tiffany did nothing but get lucky yet again when karma could have easily struck here, especially considering she was shouting the night before. Ironically enough, Tiffany's game keeps surviving because the people around her with reason to target her are too logical and pragmatic to do it right now. Tiffany then lies to SB's face saying she wants Jackpot to stay strong and she supports her partnering up with Kylan. She then pushes this girls' alliance thing because her and Claire are the only women by themselves not linked to men, but they're linked to DX though. If they truly are alone in this game, they shouldn't be visibly mad if DX gets backdoored then. But knowing production, DX might not go anywhere. Now understand, this was my thought process at the time. I gotta be real. This is how I felt, so I'm gonna read it off. Tiffany wants the roulette used on her if she goes up and tells SB she hopes to see a picture of Shelly. They hug, do the jackpot cha-ching, then they leave. Hannah talks to SB next for her one-on-one. They both want roulette to be played as well. Hannah admits roulette must happen now because next week 6 people could be safe and that would be horrible. SB agrees. Hannah, of course, plans to save her money no matter what. Hannah agrees to play if she has the money and isn't on the block. Hannah lied through her teeth here. She then tries to downplay having enough for Coin of Destiny because she will most likely use it to take out SB. Pay attention. In my opinion, Hannah's going to end up getting Coin of Destiny. She's going to use that to get SB out the game next week. I think that's going to end up happening because Xavier lost his money. DX is going to get backdoored this week. I think it's going to be between Hannah and Big D who get Coin of Destiny. I think that's what it's looking like. SB then admits to Hannah the reason why she was after her was because of Christian and Alyssa. Hannah then says she realized they were blaming it all on SB to Hannah as well, but SB is actually lying a little bit here. She really did have a problem with Hannah because she was closer to the men in Royal Flush than she was. It's that simple. Hannah wisely clears the air and saves her from the block this week by being so Hannah wisely clears the air and it saves her from the block this week by being so transparent and honest. SB basically tells her she isn't going up. SB talks to Claire next. She asks Claire what she should do. She knows Claire has no money already, making her an easy pawn to throw up. Claire basically talked SB into throwing her up next to Big D right here by saying that she thinks SB should throw up one person with money and the other person with no money as the pawn. In my opinion, this was a choke for Claire to do. Then Claire says Xavier is the biggest threat to the jackpot making the end. She admits to being scared about getting too close socially to her. SB also admits to not knowing what X is thinking. SB tells Claire about Tiffany's reaction to DX losing the HOH. SB uses this to explain why she is very worried about Alyssa to throw Claire off the scent that she is after DX. SB then fishes to find out if Christian and Alyssa threw her under the bus during week 5. Claire confirms it is true, but Claire also tried to flip it to get out SB, but Jokers kept SB's game alive. At least Alyssa had an excuse for wanting SB gone that made sense. Claire didn't. So that fight between Tiffany and Big D is playing a major role in why Alyssa is being listened to now more than Claire. Pay attention. SB says she doesn't want Claire telling Tiffany this about Alyssa, so this is a test from SB. Then both ladies discuss what happened last night with Big D and Claire. What happened last night with Big D, and Claire even says she is taking notes of how Tiffany acts when people come for her. See that, Tiffany? The woman you caped so hard for last week is right now clowning you for your temper in front of another white woman. I just want people to notice these things. This happened during a one-on-one meeting between Claire and SB. You can go back and watch it in the Have Not Room for yourself. This is before she got the HOH key. Claire straight up clowned Tiffany. When people try to come for her, I'm taking notes on that, though, for later in the game. That came out of Claire's mouth. Claire threw Hannah under the bus this week. She threw Tiffany under the bus this week, but you know the one person she never threw under the bus? DX. I told y'all. That's the person she care about the most. She don't care about these two sisters. That's why I question these sisters' loyalty for caring so much about her, man. I saw this a mile away. And the Ozza fans, they saw it too. So we all can be like, I told you so. But anyway. So Claire managed to paint Tiffany in a stereotypical light while also painting Xavier as the biggest threat to women during the same conversation, further showing why Brittany should have stayed over her. Claire promises not to share anything about Alyssa with anyone before hugging SB and leaving. DX is next for his one-on-one around 7:50 p.m. What showed me DX was always the target all along is the fact that SB asked everyone else if they were willing to play in roulette, but she specifically crafted her words to make DX feel like he didn't have to play in roulette. This contributes to why I said as SB as HOH was best case scenario to fool DX into not playing roulette. DX believing he has Kylan fooled also contributed to his naivete, along with the fact that Hannah snitched on him a night ago to Kylan, which made him give SB the go-ahead to backdoor DX. People will try to make this seem like a steamroll by Cookout, but really it's good gameplay to take out the most likely player to win an overpowered twist. DX being greedy and thinking he can choose which twist he wants is his biggest misplay this week. But notice how now that SB is the next HOH, everyone all of a sudden on DX and Claire's side now aren't so sure Brittany had 100 BB bucks a week ago. So they went from knowing for sure to not being sure. That tells me they are trying to paint another phantom target with no proof on someone else again this week to save their 4. But SB isn't forced to listen to Tiffany and Hannah like Kylan was last week. Hence why Tiffany's game has no impact this week. Like real talk, Tiffany's game is placebo effect this week. It doesn't help or hurt. It's just there, you know. SB stirs the pot by sharing what Alyssa said about Tiffany to DX as well. It's clear to me SB is setting Alyssa up to be targeted before her next week, but if she gets out DX, she now has his Infinity Stone, making her the biggest threat to cook out next. So if you connect the dots, SB is wisely bashing Alyssa to everyone on that side, but Tiffany, so it doesn't blow anything else up. That side has incentive not to tell Tiffany because they don't want her turning herself into a nominee. So this keeps him at bay with the fake house narrative as SB buys herself time for if DX doesn't play in roulette. And all of these tactics work so well, and all of these tactics work so well, so we must give SB credit for her execution of the plan. DX figures out Alyssa must have the money if she's playing, but SB tells him if she has the money, she will play. I think this key difference made DX care less about going for it as well. DX says he wants to play, but he'd rather win coup d'etat to keep the group safe. He still thinks SB is on his side, but what he doesn't get is Claire still being here makes jackpot still possible, which gives SB more reason to take DX out to make sure Tiff and Claire can't target her before Alyssa. This is why, in my opinion, Claire and Tiffany should have told DX about jackpot. That way DX would have known, SB would have saw him in a different light. But because Claire and Tiffany kept DX in the dark about certain things, DX doesn't know he should be competing for this roulette. So make no mistake about it, Claire and Tiffany didn't give DX enough information for him to make a calculated decision with. But with that said, DX still should have been smart enough to realize, hey, Brad, I'm the biggest threat in this house. I got to compete, right? And also, I don't appreciate how DX tried to put all of the guilt and all of the pressure on Hannah to compete for roulette on his behalf. Like, bro, if you compete for roulette and you win it, you're safe this week, man. You and Claire. You know, in my opinion, that should have been first priority to him. But once again, the greed kicked in. Okay, I need to drive this home. So Claire and Tiff probably can't afford to target SB themselves now because she reinforced the deal. It could cost them a jury vote if they take SB out themselves by HOH, meaning Hannah probably has to do it. But conversely, if they let her take out DX and don't take him out in response, DX could feel like he got played by all three women in the jackpot this entire season. Ooh. So Claire and Tiffany are damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they go for SB, they could lose her vote. If they don't go for her, they could lose DX's vote. This is why you shouldn't play both sides so hardcore. You know, this is why you should be like, don't reveal too many cards. You know what I'm saying? DX asks SB what she would do if she had his money. She doesn't say what she would do. DX has a 1 in 6 chance of being nominated by roulette. Funny enough, it could have been better for DX's game for the roulette to just pick him. The best move could also be for him to ask to go up like Big D did a week ago. SB is scared Kylan will hit the block. DX doesn't want the power used this week at all because he wants both powers used the third week because he will be safe with coup d'etat regardless. Makes no sense for anyone's game besides DX's to not use roulette this week because the rest can't save enough for Coin of Destiny. SB says she will ask Hannah to play for DX and will ask Alyssa not to play. Alyssa will end up playing and Hannah will end up not playing. DX is being finessed something serious here. And he was under the impression, since he goes for roulette first due to alphabetical order, that Hannah and Tiffany would go for roulette to back him up. Hannah sold him out by not doing it and saving her bread. Tiffany only got $50 this week, so her caping for Claire is why she had no chance to save or help DX. And Claire this week, cause she only had $75 and roulette is $125. Operation Save Claire keeps bringing karma to the forefront. SB and DX agree that Xiao Kahn should only go for Veto if he gets $50 this week, otherwise he should save up for next. As this is happening, Xavier totally bodied Hannah in the living room in a debate about Chicago versus Michigan. I mean, Xavier, you didn't have to go that hard on Chief Keef and Kanye. All right, I'm just going to say that in passing. Dang, you ain't have to go that hard, Xavier. Dang. He went hard on Chicago. It was a funny conversation. It was around 8:19 p.m. Then Ozza gets her one-on-one with SB. Ozza and SB are happy a woman is HOH. SB says more of the same to Ozza, that she wants to flush the power, etc., etc. Ozza says it makes sense for it to be used this week, but she might not have the money for it because she only had $50 a week ago. Ozza then continues her game of being completely honest about what Kylan did to her a week ago. She admitted Kylan was her target because of last week as well. She explains how she didn't want what happened to Brittany to make her and Big D the new pawns of the house. SB explains why she wanted Brittany to go. Ozza understands because it was honestly reciprocated, which is rare in this game. So rare it made Ozza laugh about it. Like Ozza broke character because she's so used to being lied to. SB mentions to Ozza that her not wavering on taking out Christian is why SB respects her game. Didn't I mention this would play a factor in why Ozza would not touch the block during the SBHOH week? Ozza, I'm starting to see the genius. Ozza might win this game, y'all. Joker's not letting Tiffany and Claire run the game is why they are benefiting so much from the high roller room now. Sure, they lost Brittany in the process, but they gained a lot more. Ozza has pretty much promised safety this week, and SB compliments her for looking so beautiful, which she did. Ozza was killing the game on Thursday night. Let's keep it a bean. Big D is next for his one-on-one around 8:30 p.m. SB tells Big D she knows they just lost Brittany, so she doesn't want them to feel insecure about her HOH. Big D clowns DX by asking if she's bringing out any Chex Mix or candy. She says no. She's just here to have a conversation. Big D is focused on making Final Five, and he doesn't care who makes it there with him. He placates well to SB and mentions their one-on-one from a day ago, which was part of his campaign to stay. SB asks his thoughts on the power, and Big D says he wants it out the way. Big D also played last week, so his argument for not competing is he doesn't have the money. Big D wants everyone not within the cookout to believe he only got 50 last week, so he's down to 0 now, but we all know he got 100 2 weeks in a row. So Big D probably will have the money for roulette, but he doesn't want to spend it. SB isn't buying Big D's lies, but he holds strong on only getting 50. Fraser's biggest fear is becoming the new Brittany. He hopes SB being a pawn before will make her understand his view and not throw him up 2 weeks in a row. He says he is fighting but keeping his composure. He doesn't want any of the fake he say she say stuff, basically implying Tiffany's tactics are a bit fraudulent. Big D then creates the argument just because he makes the house laugh doesn't mean America finds him funny to further downplay his $100 from last week before implying someone else is lying besides him. I think Big D not being honest is the difference between why he is more likely to touch the block over Alyssa and Ozza as the pawn. It also buys SB some fake loyalty from Tiffany to throw Big D up a day after Tiffany shouted at him. SB says if she needs anything, she will find him for another talk, but she isn't sure who her target is just yet. She will give all the nominees a heads up beforehand. Big D leaves after acting like he's about to mentally check out. He's definitely playing possum here. Xavier is up next for his one-on-one around 9 p.m. Xavier drives the point home that he wanted her or Alyssa to win HOH because the comp wasn't built for him at all. SB tells X she has a lot of people saying they will play if she asks, so she is confident it will be played. Therefore, she would like Xavier and Alyssa to save their money. Xavier stays honest with SB, saying if he gets 100 this week, he will save for Coin of Destiny for the group. Xavier believes best case scenario is Alyssa playing so X doesn't have to, then that's someone that's automatically safe that SB wouldn't go after anyway. This tells me Xavier plans to throw the next HOH if DX is taken out this week, as long as Claire is eliminated from contention. Xavier says if he is rouletted from a nominee into a nominee, they would hopefully be able to help him get off. They would be able to help get him off so SB's week can go as smooth as she wants. SB then asks who is a threat to her. Xavier logically talks his way into Big D and Claire naturally because Kylan threw those people up already. This was very solid from X because he subtly told SB the easiest noms for her are Kylan's noms from last week because Kai will take the blame. And Xavier can attest to this firsthand because he threw up Brittany 1 week after Kylan did it. And then he threw up his real target next to him the same way. So in reality, he's giving her the advice he would have given himself. So if DX gets backdoored, Kylan probably takes the blame and blood for that move too. All of this is great for Xavier's game because Claire has more incentive to target Kai and SB before Xavier. Xavier also wisely brings up how anyone who wanted to keep Brittany wanted SB and Kai out as well. He is indirectly throwing shots at DX here. Pay attention. SB is under the assumption that Brittany never said names in her campaign, so all the people telling her that clearly aren't as loyal to her as Xavier and Alyssa. Xavier gets SB to see that Brittany would never exclusively tell Alyssa and Xavier that because Brittany thought they were working together anyway. She told him a story tailored to his connection to SB that was different than the story everyone else like Hannah, Tiffany, Claire, and DX got. And the reason why it's being blamed on Alyssa and X is because that side was hoping SB would choke by not taking the shot at DX, who campaigned the hardest for Brittany to stay. So do you see what's going on here? The web of lies are being exposed, and Xavier sees through it immediately. Alyssa sees through it immediately. Kylan sees through it immediately. And it's making these people come together because they're tired of the he say, she say stuff as much as Big D and Ozza are. Okay? It's a change of the guard happening here. And this new change of terrain is really going to make me question whether Tiffany can get her head back in the game. But let's continue. Xavier never wanted Brittany to stay over Big D, so that makes him look really good here to SB. He did a fantastic job of showing SB the two sides of the house. If SB wants Tiff and Claire around, DX has to go. And if DX wanted Brittany to stay, he also wanted someone else to get out Kylan. So really, SB doesn't owe DX a thing. Xavier asks about Hannah and SB. SB admits to squashing the beef. SB says Big D convinced her he doesn't have the 100, but I think SB is playing dumb here. Xavier asks if there is anything she wants him to do for her this week. SB says she wants to know any information regarding people who aren't happy she is HOH. This tells me she values what Alyssa told her about Tiffany a lot because she wanted more of this from Xavier. Peep game. SB says there was no one besides Kai, X, and Alyssa that is off limits this week to go up, and Xavier leaves feeling unsafe. So if you are noticing something, SB is keeping Xavier in the dark as to how close she is to Claire and Tiffany. But to be fair, Xavier is closer to Tiffany than SB ever will be. So, dilly-dally, shilly-shally. I like the gameplay. I like the posturing happening. Even though these people are working together, they're still not revealing all their cards to each other. This is exciting to me. Kylan comes to talk to SB after everyone else now to compare notes and devise a plan. SB tells Kylan about Alyssa bashing Tiffany and wanting to play roulette so X doesn't have to. SB is very suspicious of how quickly Alyssa threw Tiffany under the bus. And she also tells Kylan about how Alyssa revealed that Brittany was gunning for them both. SB says Tiffany came in worried and didn't act like they were joking together at all. This tells me SB knows Tiffany doesn't think jackpot is real. SB also reveals Tiffany feels safest with Kylan and DX. She says Tiff will play if she has the money. Claire told SB later that Tiff played but got a score of 0, so to avoid an embarrassment, Tiffany is acting like she didn't play at all last week. Claire snitched on you, Tiffany. She snitched. She really told the world you got a 0 in the High Roller Derby. And you played in that comp to save her. She didn't respect you enough to keep that secret. Now do y'all see why it was an L for Tiffany to do what she did for Claire last week? I hope this is a cautionary tale. I hope in the future people learn from this mistake. Because I argue, I ain't even going to go there. I'm going to leave it alone. Let's keep it moving. If you remember, during the High Roller Derby, Tiffany knocked all 3 pins off the board at the same time with her last pin. So this story checks out as the truth. And it makes Tiffany look even worse for doing it when Claire begged her not to even spend her money. She tells Kylan about how her and Hannah figuring out Christian and Alyssa were behind a lot of their beef. SB mentions how DX wanted both powers used next week, and I could tell Kylan's gears started turning after that. That was when he knew, okay, DX is full of crap. You want both powers used next week? Where they do that at? You could tell Kylan was like, Kylan had that look on his face like, you can make a meme out of the look Kylan had when SB said DX wanted both twists used next week. You can make a meme out of that. So, when SB asked DX if Alyssa was really trying to flip the vote against her to keep Christian, DX changed his tune this week by saying they were 2 people, not just one pushing for it. So you see that, y'all? You see that, y'all? DX messed up. DX messed up. Because DX has been telling SB, he's been telling a lot of people for the longest, it was one person who said that about Alyssa. This should vindicate Alyssa because DX changed the story. Uh-oh. And whoever he is covering for clearly can't be trusted. Kylan expected DX to blame it on Brittany. Remember I said it earlier in the notes. But DX didn't say Brittany's name. Even though that was the easier play, DX. I think you choked. So that shows SB the other person is in the house. And the only people at that time who had this strong of a reason to keep Christian were Tiffany, Hannah, and Claire. This cross-examines well with Xavier's perspective on last week as well. The same group who almost kept Brittany almost kept Christian. You see how the walls are closing in? This is why you promise someone your vote early, man. Tiffany may have been mad with Brittany and Big D for what they did, even if they weren't going to give Christian their vote. But that allowed Christian to stop sweating Big D all week because he promised him his vote. Sometimes you just tell people what they want to hear. That way you can have 3 feet no pressure, bro. It's too much body heat in the atmosphere. I'm sweating. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just tell people what they want to hear. You know what I mean? You know, that it is what it is. But hold on, let's take a quick water break real quick. It's lit in these streets. We got good pacing tonight. And please do not forget to smash that like button, ladies and gentlemen. I'm giving y'all the full scope of how this week went down. Absolutely, coach. SB is pissed off. DX is covering for others over covering his own ass. Kylan says some don't do it because of fear, but some do it out of arrogance. SB mentions her talk with Ozza and Big D, Both had similar perspectives. She admits to clearing the air with them and not letting how Brittany felt about SB to alter their relationships in the game moving forward. She then mentions how she spoke to Xavier, how he's willing to do what's best for the four. SB also brings up how Xavier and Alyssa were the only ones to bring up Brittany's pitches being a little weird. Kylan says SB seems very relaxed and he's happy about it. He wants to know if she feels satisfied by the answers she got from her questions. She says no, of course. SB is stuck on whether or not to trust Alyssa versus DX. But before they can finish this talk, SB is called to the DR to get her HOH key. Around 11 p.m., Ozza tells DX she doesn't know what SB will do, but she promised this won't be Kylan's HOH. This was around the time Ozza made Tiffany jealous for getting closer to DX in that living room couch. Pay attention as well. Hannah, Tiffany, and Claire are focused on trying to get SB to take out Alyssa. Around midnight, Kylan gets to finish his conversation with SB again, but now alone in the HOH. Kylan now knows it's either Alyssa or DX getting backdoored, so he begins to work on SB to get her to see Alyssa isn't as bad as DX by using a conversation he had with Alyssa about DX. How DX fought super hard to keep Brittany. How Claire was also campaigning just as hard for Brittany. How neither of them kept Kylan in the loop, even though he said he was open to either of them going home last week. So Kylan is painting this narrative perfectly for SB to see his problems are her problems. Kylan stays on code by covering up for Tiffany and Hannah by saying they made him feel better than Claire or DX did last week based off them wanting Brittany gone more. SB believes Claire has always wanted Big D gone, so it isn't weird for her to want to keep Brittany, but DX's excuse to take out Big D was a bit selfish. Kylan says Alyssa is really the only player with a logical reason to stay loyal to SB. Everyone else doesn't have the same natural reasons based off the team twist. He and Xavier worked SB flawlessly to keep Cookout strong. Kylan then says Xavier isn't likely to even turn on SB or Alyssa because they are all the three kings. Kylan is driving this home. Well, Kylan driving this home is key because SB will need her king's members to step up big this week to back her up. DX, Backdoor, and Christian forced these three kings to give a royal clapback. Kylan admits he trusts DX more than Claire, but he is more threatened by DX in the long-term game. Kylan also says he thinks DX will turn on SB before him, which was true. SB mentions how DX blew a royal flush too soon. I agree with this. Brittany should have went out that week in my opinion. SB then says DX is on the cusp of freaking out every week. SB says that's because he knows nobody should trust him. Kylan says he doesn't believe he can protect SB from DX and Xavier. DX is closer to Claire. Tiffany is closer to Claire too. At least Xavier is close to SB. Kylan chose to be a have-not this week just to stay upstairs to stay close to SB, but he also was worried how awkward it might get with DX also a have-not after he becomes backdoored. So that's something for us to pay attention to on these feeds. How is DX going to act around Kylan after his girl basically backdoors him? And with this whole house thinking it's Kylan's HOH reign anyway, will Kylan be the one who gets all of the blood for this move? Will SB get the credit from a resume standpoint but no blood because everyone thinks she's just Kylan's puppet? That's what's on my mind, you know? Now, SB then says everybody in this house would put her up besides Kylan. She is woke. She knows they are all after her. This week is about her getting someone out who is a threat to her, and those people are DX, Alyssa, and Xavier. She says she can create a narrative for each of them by the end of the week, but right now she won't choose. This is why I'm celebrating Xavier winning this veto. This is why this veto was important. Because I believe there was a chance that Claire wins, she keeps noms the same. SB wins, she could have took Claire off because of the jackpot, and she could have replaced Claire with Hannah. Now someone black has to go home. You never know. Now, I'm not saying she does that. I still think SB wanted DX gone that bad. She would have put DX next to Xavier and just say, I bet. I truly believe that. But once again, you never know and you never want to take that chance. You don't want to be DX, leaving things up to chance when you could have done something. You don't want to live with regret in this game. These initial noms are all about having the flexibility to backdoor who she wants after the veto. This is high-level gameplay. Kylan and SB would debate over who the initial nom should be damn near all night. Kylan wanted Alyssa or DX to be thrown up before Big D, but SB wasn't going. SB is worried if she throws up Tiffany, nobody will care enough to win the roulette. She taking shots, pay attention. SB believes Hannah will play, but she won't. SB wants to use this week to gain trust from Claire and Tiffany because she isn't threatened by them in comps. Kylan says Tiffany is willing to work with them both, but Claire is only willing to work with SB. Kai was throwing Claire under that magic school bus. Let's keep it real. SB then says if DX is gone, Claire has to work with Kai closely. Kylan says Claire is going to be the quickest to throw them both up. He ain't going either. Kylan thinks the best way to backdoor DX is to put Alyssa and Hannah on the block, forcing them to duke it out for roulette to burn both their money. Because DX wouldn't go for it as long as Tiffany and Claire are off the block. SB doesn't believe this will work, though, because Alyssa might not have enough money, and that would force Xavier to spend his, which could make Alyssa and Xavier flip. Kylan almost volunteered himself to go up to help SB's game. I'm happy she did not allow him to do this. This gave me Jed vibes. I gotta keep it a bean. I did not want to see this. Alright, you feel it, dig me? She doesn't want Kylan leaving during her HOH because of his roulette. SB says it will bring out her bad girls club side if he gets sent home during her HOH week. Translation, Sarah Beth Biles got some ratchet in her. Alright, y'all don't want to see it. Alright, nothing comes between her and her man. You feel it, dig me? Now, I never knew SB was this real with it. Kylan finally agrees to Big D and Claire as the noms around 2:30 a.m. after realizing there is no other way, despite fighting so hard to keep Big D off the block. Now, these are after nominations, ladies and gentlemen, and this is, of course, on Friday morning. Let's get it cracking. Noms happen from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Friday morning. Big D and Claire are nominated. Claire being thrown up has DX and the HOH thirsty for answers around 9:09 to figure out if he should play for roulette. SB has DX fooled, thinking she wants Big D to go over Claire when he is her target. Kylan talks to SB in the HOH before DX can find him about 30 minutes later so he can match SB's narrative. They plan to keep making it seem like it's DX's choice to play for roulette, and they support him either way. Kylan plans to tell DX that he can play in roulette, but taking off Claire wouldn't be wise. SB shuts this down because it would just bring more suspicion from Zhao Khan. She wants Kylan focused on making DX believe he doesn't have to play in it, allow him to think Big D could be the target, but don't confirm nor deny either way who really is. DX has to know Claire is the target here, but he also got tricked by last week's Fool's Gold. He saw Tiffany get Claire taken off by convincing Kai to do something else. So maybe DX doesn't believe roulette matters because he thinks Tiffany has this magic wand and Kylan under her control still. But this is SB's HOH week, not Kylan's. Even if it's perceived to be Kylan's HOH, it isn't. SB has a mind of her own, you know. DX has no excuse for putting his game in Hannah's hands this week. SB and Kylan eventually decide to fool DX by telling him SB only wants to make safe moves. That's why she didn't throw up Kylan. She doesn't want to be flashy or cocky. Kylan then reveals to SB that Brittany knew about Christian being the target during DX's HOH week. Remember, Kylan learned this from Hannah when she snitched on DX. He isn't telling SB that Hannah told him this, though. He is acting like Brittany said it to him before she left. So he's covering up all of Cookout and only focusing on Claire and DX here. This is the Kai I remember from week 2. Him telling SB this should tell her that DX was the main one trying to keep Brittany last week as well. Hannah talks to Claire around 10 a.m. They have a new code word. Whenever it's time to talk game in a room, I guess Tiffany just says her Invisalign is somewhere, and then they just go to that room where the Invisalign is supposed to be. Hannah says she would rather DX played for roulette versus she would rather DX played versus Xavier for Coin of Destiny, but he has more money to spend than her, so she doesn't see a reason to go for roulette herself. Hannah rightfully believes SB just wants to drain her money, and this is why Hannah refuses to play for roulette. She's not going to let SB trick her off the streets, trick her out the house. You know what I'm saying? Hannah lies to Claire saying she will play to take down Claire, but she doesn't end up playing at all. So this was a lie in Claire's face. You know, Hannah's out for herself right now, man. Hey, listen, it's the Hunger Games. You know what I'm saying? Ozza also told Claire she would play if she got at least $75. Hannah is hoping no one plays just like DX. Now, after the roulette, this is when all hell breaks loose. Now, you're all under the impression right now, Big D's on the block next to Claire. All of that is about to change. Now, hear me out. Here we go. The house is in complete disarray after the roulette comp. DX, DF, and Claire got $100. Xavier, Alyssa, and Hannah seem to have gotten 75 each, and the rest got 50. Xavier's on the block because of the Russian roulette wheel. Alyssa saved Big D for the week, and Claire now wants Hannah or Tiffany to keep noms the same if they win Veto because she doesn't buy SB's lies that she was after Alyssa. The Infinity War has begun. As long as DX doesn't get picked for Veto, I believe Xavier takes himself off, and the Cookout seals the fate of their biggest threat to their games. So all the talk about Alyssa and SB needing to go before Claire and DX was truly anti-cookout rhetoric, because SB and Alyssa both kept Big D and Ozza safe this week. They did more for both of them this week than Tiffany has all game. Think about that for a second. Alyssa and SB did more for Big D and Ozza this week than Tiffany has all game. SB gave Ozza the week off, never threw her up. Alyssa kept Big D safe this entire week by using roulette on him. That's something tangible these two non-black women have done. So when I say I want to see Tiffany do more, it's because I know these ladies are capable of doing more. And I know that it becomes real easy to just keep doing nothing as long as these men keep picking up but it's going to come a point where you got to prove why you deserve to win over them. And if you refuse to win on the journey, then once you get to the end, can you be mad if they all send you out? I mean, and that's how I feel about it. At the end of the day, Coach, I'm seeing a lot of action from Alyssa and SB. I'm not seeing that much from you, Tiff, especially this week. I want to see more. Alyssa deserves first place in the power rankings this week for taking Big D off because it kept this plan possible. I mean, Xavier being on the block is a buzzkill, but I'd argue as long as he wins Veto, this is the perfect scenario to send DX out, where he can't even be bitter towards Xavier for using the Veto because X is on the block. If X was off the block and got picked along with DX, he would look a lot worse for using Veto on anyone but Alyssa to allow the backdoor to be possible. This scenario is low-key perfect for X because he is as clutch as I believe him to be. He literally can start his winner's edit with this Veto comp. That's how important this week is. And since Alyssa didn't fall for any of Claire's miss the last few weeks, which was reflected in her talk with SB that helped SB focus more on DX, Claire knows she will never get the vote sitting next to X. But Claire also knows she is the only pawn in their group besides Hannah. So this explains why she wouldn't want Tiff or Hannah to use Veto as well. DX is low-key having a mini meltdown on feeds, though. After talking with Claire and Tiffany, he goes to find Xavier of all people to chat. Now, I need to really paint the picture. Xavier just got screwed by a twist. He's on the block. DX has the nerve to come to the weight room to go to Xavier to tell him, hey man, you're lucky. At least you're on the block. Xavier's literally looking at this dude like, you're literally trying to explain to me that I'm in a better position than you when I'm on the block right now? Like, DX, you got to know when not to say stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? I saw this and I went, DX is unraveling. This felt like week 1 DX a little bit. Like he was in his thoughts a little bit too much. He was thinking too much, and he's just going people to people. Just he was panicking. DX needed to be calm in this moment. And honestly, I think he was starting to panic because he realized, ooh, Xavier may have been the worst possible person to be on that block. Because that's the one person I think DX feared having to compete against for a Veto to stay in this game. I think that's the minute DX had fear in his heart. Whether Veto was picked him or not, I think he had fear he couldn't beat X. I think Claire had fear she couldn't beat X. The way that other side, the oxygen left their bodies when they realized we got to compete against X. We got to compete against SB. Oh, the Shadow Realm awaits. But let's continue, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, he goes to find Xavier of all people to chat and then acts as if Xavier is in a better position than him just because Xavier is guaranteed to play in the Veto. A twist literally put this man on the block, and DX is trying to be a nominee, is trying to tell a nominee that they have it good. Come on, DX, this is poor social game. If anything, he is showing fear to a lion like Professor Xavier. X had to check him a little bit here and say, bro, you're not on the block. You shouldn't feel worse than I do. I believe DX did this to gain information on whether Xavier is in on a plan to get him out or not, but going to Xavier while he's working out was just terrible game etiquette. I'm pointing this out because DX hasn't been this awkward since week 1. The ironic part is he got out Christian and said he had to do it then because mathematically Christian would have had just over a 50% chance of being picked with 10 people left. Remember? Isn't this 2 weeks from when he said that? Wasn't his argument Christian has to go week 5 because week 7 he might get picked for Veto every time? Well, DX, you didn't get picked for Veto this week when you got backdoored, proving your argument and your mathematics were off week 5. So I'm just going to expose that real quick, further proving you made a mistake backdooring that man. You made a mistake, bro. DX implied at the time that the percentages were too much in Christian's favor to let him make jury. Well, that same thing applies now because this is literally 2 weeks after that happened, meaning DX is overreacting now before veto picks even occur. It is an admission that he now doesn't believe what he said 2 weeks ago. I did the math. It's 3 spots for veto out of 7 remaining players to choose from. That's roughly a 43% chance DX has to save himself. Christian had a worse chance than that, and DX was ruthless towards him week 5. So why should we feel sorry for DX now? He had a higher chance to be picked for veto. Isn't that why he didn't let Christian make it to this week? See, and the way Christian's been handling himself on social media too, I think it's also contributing to a lot of fans realizing, damn, we were a little hard on that guy. He could have made jury. He's not a bad dude. Now, for the cookout, I get it. And DX, you did do the cookout a favor. To be honest, you basically was a puppet by taking Christian out because in my opinion, you needed him. All right? Really, what y'all needed was to bury the hatchet. You and Hannah should have flipped, worked with Alyssa and Christian. But the problem was, y'all could never get that shaken, especially after Hannah got thrown up that one time by Christian. So I get that side of it, but y'all need to understand, DX put his foot in his mouth by throwing up SB to make sure he got Christian out when he could have just threw up Alyssa and broke his promise to Xavier that week. At the end of the day, you were going to have to break your word to somebody. I'd rather break my word to the people I don't plan to work with in the future. The fact that you threw up SB and then expected loyalty for her down the road just because Kylan has loyalty to you, that's why DX, you shouldn't have been talking so much negatively about Kai behind his back. But to be fair to DX, he never would have thought Hannah would snitch on him. So, man, the connection's getting a little crazy. Am I keeping it a little too real now? Why's the connection getting bad? Hold up, man. Let me make sure my connection don't tweak out. Let me take my phone off of Wi-Fi. All right. Whew. I know when I'm saying too much truth in the air, usually that's when the connections start getting kind of bare. All right. Now let's continue. So this is the same thing happened 2 weeks ago. Meaning DX overreacting now before veto picks even occur is an admission that he now doesn't believe what he said 2 weeks ago. I did the math. He has a 43% chance. So if DX does get backdoored this week, my prediction from week 5 will be right, and I will have been vindicated for wanting DX to wait until jury to make this move. Now he has no shields, Claire is thought of as a pawn, and Hannah along with Tiffany don't want to see the block, so they don't want veto used. But they have no control over Xavier because he's on the block. So production may have screwed X by getting him nominated, but they also could have screwed DX by nominating the one guy who could send DX to the Shadow Realm. This is going to make some good TV on Sunday night. But to get back to DX's mini meltdown, because we gotta hold him accountable, this guy has the gall to be mad at Tiffany and Hannah for saving their money this week because he wanted them to compete to take off Claire. Tiffany's excuse is she only got 50 this week. I don't know if she's lying or not, but that sounds like a lie to me. Now, it wasn't a lie, but at the time I thought it was. I'm like, there's no way Tiffany got 50. She really only got 50? Wow. That really told me, oof. A lot of people turning on her, not just black folks. Now, I don't think DX is buying this either, by the way, because his jaw dropped, forcing Tiffany to take her shades off and look at him eye to eye to tell him she only has 75 right now. If DX finds out Hannah and Tiffany left him available to be backdoored easier because they refused to save Claire for the 4, DX could be a bitter juror towards them too, similar to Brittany. But at the end of the day, Coach, DX should have spent his money and won that himself. That way veto didn't even matter. But I see why he would be frustrated, because he is the target, and the rest of those women just hide behind him. Now DX knows what it feels like to be Xavier in this game with Hannah and Tiffany. Hey, Xavier has all this unfair pressure put on him all the time. And DX, unfortunately, you had to live a week with that type of pressure. I know, man. Listen, pressure bursts pipes. You know, it's unfortunate this had to happen to you, you know. This is why I told y'all SB as HOH would be best case scenario to fool DX. And it worked. If Alyssa or Xavier were HOH, DX and Claire are probably safe. You gotta love this game. An improbable HOH win by Sarah Beth Biles set DX up into a false sense of security based off of a deal he made with a player in their most vulnerable state. SB said whatever she had to say to stay over Christian. DX taking out Christian and nominating SB to get it done, when I still don't understand why that was necessary, teed him up for SB to clap back at him. This is why DX should have just nominated Alyssa as his pawn before SB. But he got too cute trying to make Christian feel as comfortable as SB just made him feel before shit got real. It appears Alyssa, Xavier, and Hannah have 75 this week, but I'm not sure about Alyssa. Some fans say she has 100. If true, that means Alyssa has no money going into next week, or 25 at the most, while Xavier and Hannah has 150. meaning she is in a great position to play in Coin of Destiny to win coup d'etat. If DX doesn't go this week, Hannah is forced to play versus DX to save the cookout. Hannah is better off sacrificing DX and having that power for herself. And I think that's the long-term con behind why she snitched on DX. Hannah wanted that Coin of Destiny moment for herself. And she will talk to Cams late at night on Friday night. And she will say a few things telling me this was part of her strategy. Tiffany says people are looking for reasons to throw people up because they are down to the wire. Tiffany believes the replacement nom will be her or DX if Xavier wins Veto. Smart. DX thinks it will be Hannah versus Claire. DX then says he thinks Hannah takes them further than Claire, which tells me BB Bucks is playing a role in his thinking, and he is fishing by saying he knows Tiffany is closer to Claire, so he doesn't know who she would keep. Tiffany says Claire would get her vote, but Hannah would stay. So for all the Ozza haters who were mad she threw Brittany a sympathy vote over Big D, calling that off code when it made sense for her jury management, y'all better keep that same energy with Tiffany for saying she would never throw a sympathy vote. She would throw a sympathy vote to Claire over Hannah. Tiffany says it's a game. And see, that's the thing. Ozza was just playing the game. This is why I didn't consider it off code. I mean, come on, man. No one wants to leave by unanimous vote. I mean, come on, man. You feel like a piece of crap when you leave by unanimous vote, you know? Tiffany begins to talk about if it's her and Claire on the block, and then DX says it will probably be him. Tiffany tells him to talk to SB. DX then begs for a puzzle comp so Xavier can't beat Claire. I was like, bruh, if this ends up being a puzzle now, that was definitely what I was thinking. I was like, But yeah, he looked super defeated in my opinion, while X was looking super focused on winning this. Tiffany doesn't want Claire to use the veto if she wins it because DX will replace her. DX then says he thinks he has the votes next to Xavier. He's in the dark. He's in the dark. He can sense DX continues to He can sense the shadow realm awaiting his arrival. DX continues to fish for information by saying he thinks he has Ozza and Kylan before Xavier. Tiffany had to interrupt this man and say it shouldn't come to that. That's what I knew. Tiffany was like, DX, you tripping, bruh. Don't even talk like this, man. Tiffany's game is going to be very compromised this week if DX and Claire are on the block next to each other. And they will be. Because she really wants Claire to go first, but she can't push for that this week because the cookout will all prioritize DX's departure. If she would have let Claire go last week, she wouldn't even be in this position to possibly choose between them. Will she throw DX a sympathy vote? That might be risky for a game because nobody else could be framed for that besides Hannah. Yeah, this vote is probably going to be 7-0 or 6-1 written all over it if DX is next to Claire. Now, around 6:33 p.m., Tiffany wants DX to work heavily on Kylan this week to make him not let SB pull the trigger. But with Alyssa now safe and X on the block, it's clear DX leaving this house unless DX wins Veto. Tiffany tells DX that Xavier doesn't know how close they really are, but X does know. Tiffany now has to lie to DX all week to preserve his vote, but I think she may lose it by lying to him too much. DX says if they can get Xavier out this week, they can get SB out next week. They are set up to make Final 5. Sounds like it was rigged to land on Xavier's name because Tiffany seems very relieved because her picture was right next to Xavier's on the roulette. So that's going to be something for us to notice on Sunday's episode. A lot of people have conspiracy theories that a magnet could have been involved and all this other stuff. I'm not going to go there. I don't really care anymore because Xavier won Veto. So it's a non sequitur at this point. It's inconsequential. But I ain't going to lie. When Xavier first hit that block right after that, oh man, I was sweaty. I was sweaty. I got to own it. I was nervous. Not because I didn't believe Xavier could take himself off, but because I knew there could be some funny business. And then when you add the fact that they just happened to come up with the veto that I've never heard of before involving all this other stuff, ladies and gentlemen, this sounds like it's going to be the greatest video comp ever created on Wednesday's episode. Based off of what some of these house guests are saying after the comp, it sounded like it was the Hunger Games tonight. Feeds were down for dang near 7 hours. Punishments left and right. Xavier got 24-hour solitary confinement. He finna pull off a Dan. You feel it, dig me? Hey, it's only right. Hey, he gotta go through. He gotta go through what the greats go through, bro. Cause he's one of them. You feel it, dig me, coach? But anyway. Tiffany admits SB told her she wants to keep Claire, but she continues to hide the jackpot from DX. If DX finds out Tiffany had an alliance with the HOH who backdoored him, he could also be hurt by that. And SB told Tiffany she wants jackpot in Final 3, so that does give Tiffany some semblance of hope if DX is sent out. But she still refuses to trust SB. She tells DX it's best for her game that he stays with Claire, and he agrees. Hannah thinks Slip and Slide could be the Veto, but I think it could be Zingbot to help Claire and DX versus Xavier. Hannah is trying to keep Claire's spirits up as Tiffany keeps DX's morale up. This week is going to test both of them immensely from a social standpoint. After doing more research, I found out Tiffany did in fact get 50, so now it makes sense why she is so salty on these feeds. She is now confused what she did wrong to get such negative reinforcement from just 7 days ago when she had 75. This should tell her black fans do not like her shouting at Big D. This should tell her black fans are questioning her on-code abilities. This should show her she needs to allow DX to be sent to the Shadow Realm, because obviously her tactics are starting to be disliked by people. If DX is still getting hundreds and Hannah keeps getting 75s, then I must connect the dots that Tiffany's anger towards Big D and that Operation Save Becky plan from a week ago are what made Tiffany look so bad here. I mean, in my opinion, it's got to be that, because those are the things that Hannah isn't connected to. Hannah ain't dropped off in her money. Those are the things Claire isn't connected to. She didn't drop off in her money. I think Claire got more money this week. Didn't Claire get like 100 this week? So that's my point. Everybody around you seem to be getting money, but you not. What's up with that? Also, don't forget, Brittany had fans who really supported her enough to get $100 week 1. They probably voted for everyone but Tiffany, because she convinced Kylan to take out Brittany over Claire. For Kylan to get 50 is understandable. For Tiffany to get 50 after fans gassed her up to be a top 5 best player ever just further vindicates my last 2 rants. Fans are turning on Tippy Toes fast, and she can't believe it. Brittany may have made a diss song about Kylan full of struggle bars, but her fans dissed Tiffany the hardest this week, along with the logical black fans that support Ozza, Big D, and Xavier. This is why Ozza got more money this week as well. Pay attention, because even Tiffany stands recognize this is a huge L for her. She's losing her grip on the game. Around midnight on Friday night, Hannah talks alone to Cams in the bathroom. She first greets her family and says she hopes they are doing okay. She also greeted her sister, who I think was moving across country and going to school or something like that, and she said she was proud of her. She also spreads awareness on the Delta variant crisis in India. This was very important, and I thought this was a very touching moment, and this is what I wanted to spread some awareness to as well on her behalf. This was good for you to do, Hannah. And she hopes all of the people of India are staying in good health. Hannah says she doesn't know why America rewarded her with $75 twice. She says she hopes people understand the mission. Even if it comes at the expense of SB, Claire, Alyssa, and DX, it breaks her heart that these 4 people left have no real chance to win. This talk with Cams I needed to see from her, because it showed me Hannah's eyes are still on the ball. She says she would be playing in the Coin of Destiny next week to make things get crazy. She wants to use the Secret HOH to start playing the game harder. She's in good spirits and is happy she can check this off her bucket list at only the age of 21. She then apologizes to Nicole F. for criticizing her game so much before playing it. Now that she has played, she respects every alumni more. She says if it wasn't for Davon and Bailey, she would have never applied after All-Stars and hopes they are watching and supporting the cookout. Then she drools over Enzo, which kind of ruined the moment. Well, it is what it is. Oh, man. That's funny. All right, now let's get into after Veto picks on Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. This was when DX realized the Shadow Realm awaited him, okay? Fees returned Saturday morning after Veto picks. Turns out DX wasn't picked at all, so the backdoor is in motion, and he can't do a thing to stop it because he was dumb enough not to go for roulette. DX got greedy, and he also put too much faith in Hannah and Tiffany to win roulette for him when they can't even be depended on by black men to win comps. Ozza, Big D, and Alyssa are the Veto players, along with SB, Xavier, and Claire, so now fans of Tiffany, Hannah, DX, and Claire want Ozza, of all people, to ruin her game by winning Veto just to keep noms the same. What? Oh, so now y'all see value in Ozza after not wanting her to even have a chance of winning over Claire just a week ago? See, this exposes the agenda of these people from last week because they continue to move the goalpost. I told y'all, see, they getting exposed this week. See, everybody think my rants in the moment, dang day, you ain't had to go that hard. I'm ahead of the curve 9 times out of 10. You're not going to agree with me until you see it unfold in the show 9 times out of 10. Then when you see it unfold, whether that's a week later, a few days later, 2 weeks later, then you go, oh, there was a method to his madness. He's not taking it personal. He's just telling how it is. That's what it's always been with me. Now, anyway, they literally created an Operation Save Claire plan just for Claire to stay over Ozza's friend Brittany. Why the hell would Ozza stick her neck out for people who just made her path to the end more difficult? Ozza has every right to get even by throwing this veto comp to make Tiffany and Hannah's path to the end more difficult right back. DX and Claire fans want the black members of Cookout they don't like to choke their games away to help the other black members of Cookout destroy the Cookout. It's that simple. Pay attention to that. Around 9 a.m., Ozza hugs Claire in the kitchen and tells her she can win this veto. Claire says this feels like another Kylan HOH. I think she called it a curly hair kingdom week. I think that's the way she calls Kylan's HOH reign, curly hair kingdom. Seems like a little dog whistly to me, but okay. Ozza says she is at the mercy of SB for keeping her off the block. Claire tries to cut a deal with Ozza for her to take her off, but Ozza ain't trying to make no deals. Coach, she playing better than you now, Claire. She don't need no deals. You feel a deal or no deal? Shout out to Wayne Brady. She don't need no deal. She's sitting in too good of a spot right now to ruin it for Claire. Ozza isn't Tiffany. Let's keep it a bean. Let's keep it a bean. Now, then Claire looks up like she's about to cry before asking Ozza if she will at least go for the veto. Why does it matter to Claire so much if Ozza competes for veto? Why are these players such cowards? Why do they need so much help? Why can't they get themselves off the block themselves? Claire seems entitled to being taken off the block by others because it happened a week ago. Now it seems like she is putting pressure on Ozza to win it, but Ozza owes her nothing. Claire and Tiffany sent Brittany home last week with no remorse. Ozza has every reason to throw this veto and kick her feet back, and she will do that. You feel it, dig me. You feel it, dig me. I see people crying in the live feeds chat rooms talking about, I'm ending my Paramount Plus subscriptions because DX is getting backdoored. But these were the same people who laughed when Christian fans said the same thing 2 weeks ago after he got backdoored. Nobody likes it when the shoe is on the other foot. This is why I was against DX backdooring Christian in the first place. Even I saw a way for Cookout to benefit from it. Well, even if I saw a way for Cookout to benefit from that, I preferred the Infinity War to commence in jury because I value competition. DX didn't even let Christian compete. So we shouldn't feel sorry for him when SB doesn't let him compete. DX didn't even have to nominate SB to get Christian out. He chose to do it because he wanted Ozza and Brittany to go after Alyssa themselves. He created his own backdoor karma by being scared to beat Christian man to man. And see, that's the hard-hitting truth people don't want to come to terms with there. If this dude just has the heart to nominate Christian straight up and beat him mano-a-mano, I think Christian respects him. I think Christian goes, you know what? Can't knock it. But it's the way you went about getting out Christian to where if SB do you the same, and see, SB a lady doing you that way, she should feel more threatened by you to not want to face you mano-a-mano. You was that threatened by another man. So for the people acting like what SB's doing is whack, but what DX did week 5 was justified, nah, it's actually in reverse. SB is justified, what DX did was whack, and he justified what SB did. See, I gotta bring balance back to the earth. I'm Thanos, baby. I gotta snap my finger real quick, bring things back to action, back to life. You feel it, dig me? Now, haters will say this is a steamroll, but 4 non-Cookout members won HOH and got misted by this alliance. We had a black man on the block week 1, and we still standing. We had Hannah on the block week 4, we still standing. And now because Alyssa jumped on code with the Black Alliance, we have Xavier on the block next to Claire, and you can feel the shadow realm in the air. The fact that Xavier hit the block due to roulette just further helps his resume, because he once again took one for the team, and it was out of anyone's control. Only X can handle this moment as well as he has, and the veto picks are also perfect for Xavier too, because they will all throw it to him. All of them are Xavier's people. Ozza, Big D, and Alyssa. Oh man, this man has played it so well up to this point. Like, dang, bruh. Even if Claire wins veto, DX is screwed. This is why Tiffany choked by not keeping Brittany over Claire a week ago. She kept the spotlight on her side, losing no one, instead of using an addition by subtraction strategy of letting Claire go to make sure Jokers had a heightened threat level this week. Also, don't underestimate how Tiffany shouting at Big D just further pushed away Ozza from ever working to help DX this week because DX was the one trying to send Big D home the most. Tiffany fumbled the bag for DX in several different directions. There was no way Big D or Ozza now vote to keep DX over Claire because of Tiffany's lack of respect towards Jokers, which allowed Xavier to pick up the pieces. And when you add how Tiffany only got 50 BB bucks, she now has to know fans want her to let these two go and focus on the 6. So now her game is rightfully under a larger microscope because she was off code the most. DX fans have completely turned on Claire as well. They went from last week caping for her to now wanting her gone over DX. But now Claire will never leave before DX because Tiffany and Hannah made it seem like Claire was less of a threat than Brittany last week. DX can't stay over Claire because then that means Brittany is a bigger threat than DX from a house narrative standpoint. I need to point these things out so that people realize DX is cooked. Put a fork in them. And like I said, it's slowly hurting Hannah and Tiffany's social game because they are spending most of their time with the house target this week. So now Hannah can't afford to throw any more HOHs, and Tiffany has to step it up because they no longer have DX to hide behind. See, SB, Alyssa, and Claire would be the last 3 to be taken out before history is made. I think if Xavier or Kai wins HOH, Claire is out after DX. If someone else in Cookout wins, Alyssa or SB is taken out next. Bottom line, DX leaving makes the 6 that much more unbeatable as long as Alyssa or Claire don't win the next HOH. Now, but I think Alyssa could be talked into targeting Claire, though. So if Alyssa wins the next HOH, it's not that bad. If Claire wins, it's all bad. So at the end of the day, if you're a Cookout fan, the only person you should be rooting for outside of Cookout to win the next HOH is possibly Alyssa. But even then, I don't even want to risk that. You feel what I'm saying? Come on, man. We got the best percentage chance of winning this next HOH than ever before. We got to pull this through. And for Xavier's game, he can't be the one to target Alyssa, but he could be the one to target Claire. And if it's true that if Xavier doesn't win the next HOH, he will be a third nom, or if he wins the next HOH, he'll be the third nom the following week. I don't know the actual story behind that. We'll get into the questions portion. Y'all can clear that up for me. But let's get back to the notes. Around 12:14 p.m., Claire speaks to Tiffany alone. Tiffany says she knows the best way to stay is staying social and relevant. Tiffany sees this week people have been avoiding her like the plague. If she would have just let Claire go last week, she wouldn't be in this position now. She says ever since Thursday, she has only talked to Claire, DX, and Hannah. Tiffany feels weird about this. She said even Xavier hasn't said much to her, but what does she expect? Xavier's on the block and the pressure is on him to take himself off to make everyone's game a little easier to explain after DX gets betrayed. Claire believes Alyssa and Xavier threw them under the bus. She's right. Xavier threw Claire and DX under the bus for trying to keep Brittany, but he and Kylan covered up for Tiffany very well. So Tiffany being excommunicated is not any of these black men's fault. It's her own for getting in too deep with that side. This is why earlier in the notes I said Tiffany's game would be tested a lot this week. Everyone says she's this social mastermind, but the minute a woman becomes HOH, Tiffany's game seems a bit obsolete. Can we keep it a bean? Tiffany believes Xavier and Alyssa had to have done this because they were so sociable when SB was on the block, but now they aren't. But why is Tiffany or Claire surprised by this? They got figured out for being too indecisive too many weeks in a row. Claire had 2 weeks of safety and has been in the Hunger Games ever since. I bet you she wishes she didn't take that safety now. Tiffany then says she wouldn't be surprised if Xavier comes, and Tiffany is the replacement nom. Tiffany, you aren't a threat to people like you think you are, coach. It's going to be okay. Now, I believe she's acting a little bit to make Claire calm down. To be like, I'm going to go up, Claire. Calm down. I think that's part of her tactic to try to get Claire to stop. Because Claire, man, she'd be hyperventilating over the thought that DX could be backdoor to the point where Claire's like, if I win Veto, I keep noms the same for DX. Claire, are you crazy or something? You was an alternate this season. You better go and take that. You better go take this opportunity. Huh? You better not waste your game away just so DX don't. Now, I get it for her game. She knows, well, if DX ain't here, I ain't making the end anyway, so I might as well go to jury now. I get that side of it, but dang, man, keep fighting. You know what I mean? Now, SB literally wants Tiffany around because she can't win anything. Claire is so lost. She thinks Kylan would allow SB to take out Hannah before DX, believing they could have a new 4 if Hannah is gone. So you see this, y'all? Claire is a Hannah hater, okay? She's a hater. I don't know what smelling salts Claire been sniffing, but she needs to chill out. Then Claire says they might have to throw Hannah under the bus. See? This proves she has been hating on Hannah from afar. And this justifies why Hannah flipped on DX by snitching to Kylan 2 days before. Hannah, the pivoting prowess. I respect your pivoting prowess. You feel it? Dig me? I respect it. I respect it. Claire was always going to choose DX over Hannah and Tiffany. Hannah is just the only player smart enough to see it. And this is why I salute Hannah for lying to Claire's face saying she would go for roulette if she got 75. She said that with such a straight face. She ain't going for that roulette. Nah, it ain't going down like that. Now, Claire and Tiffany believe Ozza is torn about this veto. I bet we get a confession of Ozza saying, I could care less. They really think she's torn about this. They really think this is as hard of a week as her as last week with Brittany or something. They crazy. Ozza was torn over Brittany and Big D. She'll never be that torn ever again, Tiffany. She'll never be that torn again, Claire. Like, let me keep it a bean. She'll never be that torn. You know? Y'all battle hardened her now. And now she's gonna be your worst nightmare, Tiffany. Because this version of Ozza, this ain't the one you can really check. I'm just being honest. Listen, Most Improved Player of the Week award last week went to Ozza. I didn't announce it, but now I am. It went to Ozza. And if I got to say Most Improved Player award this week, ladies and gentlemen, I got to say it's Alyssa. If Alyssa does not use the power to take Big D off, we have Big D next to Xavier because of roulette. 2 black men on the block before Veto. Even if one comes off, there's a chance of some funny business there. Alyssa allowed the cookout to stay safe this week with her move. And for that reason, I'm going to give her some credit. Most Improved. You know what I'm saying? It's lit in these streets. Claire and Tiffany believe Ozza is torn about this veto. Claire thinks best case is Ozza doesn't use it. Claire thinks she will stay over Xavier better than DX. She is willing to risk her game for DX because she knows she can't make Final 2 without him. Claire and Tiffany are salty. Alyssa is so happy to play in this veto because they know she uses it on Xavier. Tiffany believes it's so dumb to excommunicate them just because DX is the target. But this is Big Brother. And Tiffany needs to be more social herself because she said when Frenchie is away for long, people started to see how much they liked his absence. Remember that during week 2? When Frenchie was going through, I'm going to quit. I'm going to leave the house. I don't want to be in sequester. If there's a battle back, I don't want to be 4 weeks without my family. Remember he was talking like that? Tiffany was saying, you know what? The more he stays away from everyone in that back bedroom, the more we like this house without him. Tiffany, you're giving this house that same thing because you're not being sociable enough. I'm just giving her advice here. I'd argue the same thing could be said about Claire and Tiffany this week. Also, Tiffany's outraging shouting match with Big D made these players look at her as problematic because she chose to be loud there. Big D's social game is amazing right now, while Tiffany's is terrible. That's karma for its own right. And with the context of knowing Tiffany had that argument with Big D, I don't even know why Claire thinks these jokers would ever help her, because helping her helps Tiffany, who shows them no respect. This is why Claire shouldn't have high-fived Tiffany for shouting at Big D that night. She should have told her the truth about how it's bad for both of their games. DX gets called to the DR, so everyone knows the veto comp will happen shortly. Around 1:30 p.m., Tiffany talks to Cams alone and says she is happy she got reconfirmed with her final 3 with Xavier and Hannah. In my opinion, she's only concerned with this final 3 now because DX's fate is all but sealed. But it's still poor etiquette for Tiffany to talk to X about this before he even comes off the block. This should tell X that Tiffany is only doing it because she is concerned she has no other route to the end. And she doesn't. Literally, if she doesn't have Xavier, she has no route. In my opinion, she doesn't have a route. I don't think Kylan takes Tiffany. I don't. I don't care what Kylan's perspective is on Ozza. He is more like, I think everybody in Cookout is trying to take Big D and Ozza with him. And that's why I could see a scenario where Ozza wins the game. Where she yokes someone in final HOH, takes Big D. Winner of Big Brother 23, Ozza the Mazza Awusa. I'm telling y'all, it's possible. It's possible. You know, this should tell X that Tiffany is only doing this because she is concerned she has no other route to the end. She needs Xavier to take her there, but why would he ever take Tiffany further than Ozza and Big D? By the way, shout outs to the Super Chat coach. I'm in the zone right now. You know what? It's a Super Chat. No, I can't afford to be lazy. I'm on my way to the Bat Cave real quick. It was from Arlene Hines. When it scrolls up, no, matter of fact, I'm on my way to the Bat Cave. I'm just finna handle this. I'm finna get you your Infinity Stone ASAP, no Rocky. You feel to dig me. I appreciate you. And please do not forget to hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope y'all are enjoying the rant. I'm providing nothing but factual information here. And of course, with the RBR spin, oh, you didn't put no comment on it. Well, I appreciate you nevertheless for the super chat, coach. All right, so she got her Infinity Stone, or he has his Infinity Stone. Now I'm finna back out and get back to these notes. Let's get it cracking, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Tiffany claims Xavier is very trustworthy compared to Kylan, even though he isn't a man of many words. She says she is staying low-key because they want DX gone this week. She says it isn't best for a game, but it is best for the 6. Now, here's the thing. Why did it take Tiffany this long to admit it was best for DX to go for the 6? Why did she have to wait until he was on death's doorstep to be, yeah, it's best for the 6, he goes. It might not be best for me, but it's best for the 6. This is her first time admitting it's best for a 6. I've been trying to tell her fans this is best for the 6. They've been trying to tell, no, it's not. What's best for the 6 is best for Tippy Toes. And I had to recenter the argument every time. So now Tiffany is finally waking up. But I think she's waking up out of necessity because she realizes, uh-oh, I should have had more of a backup plan in case DX did get got. You burned bridges with Ozza and Big D. I think you and Kylan are on rocky footing. Xavier now knows that you only really care about making deals with him when you feel nervous. I think you screwed yourself with every other member of this alliance besides Hannah. And even Hannah has begun to separate herself from you by being willing to throw DX and Claire under the bus to Kylan when you refuse to. So in Kylan's mind, he might be willing to take Hannah further than you now. See, this is deep. This is deep. So finally, Tiffany sees DX has to go for the collective. She is finally putting the collective above herself. This is all I ever asked of her, so this is positive. She wants to smoke with SB, though, because she fears her winning that final 7 HOH. I believe Xavier making her feel good about the final 3 deal is the only reason she is finally admitting DX leaving is best for the 6. Turns out SB chose DX to be the host of the Veto comp that will send him to the Shadow Realm. She took $5 grand from the man with her moaning Myrtle forbidden jitsu already, and now she is going to backdoor him to the Shadow Realm. Sarah Beth Biles came here to play. Now, after the Veto comp, when feeds return, Xavier has the veto around his neck. Sounds like there were tons of punishments in the Veto comp, one of which puts Xavier in solitary confinement. It also seems he may have took another punishment designed to make him a 3rd nominee this week after he wins HOH again. Based on feeds, this sounds like this might be the greatest Veto comp ever conceived. It's only right one of the best players ever win it. Now, before we get into questions, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get into somebody who was tweaking earlier today on Twitter. Derek Levasseur. Oh, man. See, this was an L you took, Derek. And see, I'm going to be respectful, coach. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be respectful, but I'm going to be witty with my respect. All right? Y'all know how I gets down. I am going to really filibuster these talking points you see on the screen. Hold on. Let me make this bigger for y'all. I told patrons we got a roast. We got to do a roast session tonight because something tell me Derek, he doesn't get how tone deaf he looks in this moment. We got to talk about this. We got to talk about it. DX and Claire fans, a.k.a. the Anti-Cookout Coalition, the ACC, I ain't talking basketball, I ain't talking Virginia Tech. You feel it, dig me? They're salty, all right? They're so salty DX is getting sent to the Shadow Realm. Even Derek Levasseur, as you can see on the screen, was copping some pleas. Winner of BB16 decided to chime in. First of all, let's bring up the elephant in the room here. It's never a good look for someone who is law enforcement to want to change rules soon as black people benefit from the rules that white counterparts usually benefit from. So first and foremost, Derek, tone deaf at the worst. Well, tone deaf at the best. At the worst, anti-black. Now, I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt on some of my criticism here. But you got to understand, if you ain't the one making these comments during BB21, if you ain't the ones making these comments after BB22, when you helped Cody Calafiore pre-game for a whole season, then I don't want to hear you talk about what's boring and predictable, because All-Stars was very boring and predictable, mainly because of you. And you weren't even on the season. So understand, not only do you come off as a hypocrite, you come off tone deaf, you come off somewhat anti-black alliance, it's not a good look for you, bruh. Now, I'm going to try during this portion of the rant to get you to see our perspective in a respectful way. I hope you watch this part entirely through and understand I ain't trying to shit on you necessarily, but I'm trying to get you to see your shit on yourself. So let's continue. To even want to change the game because of black excellence implies you are anti-black. That must be stated before we even get further into these comments. As for what Derek said, you can see it on the screen. He tweeted as follows: I really think it's time for Big Brother to allow all house guests to play in the veto competition each week. Too many good players have worked too hard in that house to have their game ended simply because a plastic chip with their name on it wasn't pulled. This statement implies Derek doesn't appreciate predetermined and or boring outcomes of the game. If that's the case, why did he help Cody pre-game for All-Stars, which made it predetermined? Why was it okay for Cody to steamroll, but rules must change now when the only black alliance in history does it? Do you not see how you are coming off? These rule changes wouldn't even increase the chance the target stays, because they would just have more competition for one veto. All it does is make production work harder to create an area that can fit more than 6 people competing in it. That means more veto comps that are carnival games or random crapshoots, not comps based on will or skill that we truly value as fans. So let's go ahead and debunk this thesis immediately here. Now, where Derek can have some wiggle room is in the argument that he didn't make this argument for Christian, so he can't necessarily be anti-black for saying it now for DX. That's his cop-out, no pun intended. Someone would tweet Derek saying, Big Brother should be more about than just winning comps. It should be about strategy and a good social game. Now, this led to Derek replying back saying, it's a fair point. If we want a social strategy to be a bigger part of the game as opposed to just being a good competitor, you do need elements where you can't just win a comp to save yourself. Let's go deeper here to translate the dog whistling. The first person was saying Big Brother should be about physical, social, and strategic, not just physical. I agree with that. But DX made his game all physical when he didn't allow Christian to make Jury to keep that mantle as a shield. Uh-oh, we're talking facts now. We're talking facts. No, we ain't responding emotionally. We're going to respond logically here. This is why socially, DX never made real strides with 8 out of the 15 other players. He hit it off well with Kylan, Brittany, Ozza, Hannah, Tiffany, Travis, and Claire. He didn't hit it off well with Frenchie, Brent, Whitney, Christian, Xavier, Alyssa, SB, or Big D. Those people he never connected with are the main ones this week in control of his demise. Xavier probably wins veto, Alyssa won roulette, and SB is HOH. So DX isn't this all-around threat people are making him out to be to justify changing rules here. That's important. But I do agree he is a strategic and physical player. I just have to make the point that he's not a social threat. There's a difference. Week 1, Derek X was not a social threat. Week 7, Derek X is not a social threat. But he is a strategic powerhouse and a physical powerhouse. We need to create the difference between the three. And right now, I feel like they are lumping social with strategic to be lazy to justify DX, to justify a rule change because of DX. All right? This is similar to the Tom Brady Tuck rule. Oh, well, he's the guy we wanted to win, so we're going to come up with some rule changes on the fly real quick. You know what? That wasn't a fumble, man. It's a Tuck rule. We ain't never came up with this before, but you know what, Raiders? We're going to screw y'all in this winter. We're going to screw y'all in this snow. That's what it feel like to me. This feel like DX's Tuck rule. You know what I'm saying? That's what it feel like. Derek responded by saying fans should want the social game to be rewarded more than the physical game by allowing players more ways to stay safe without having to win a comp. First of all, DX isn't a social player, so I think Derek meant strategic here, because being social doesn't make you a strategic player necessarily. Second of all, why does he now want underdogs and people outnumbered to have all this help when black people are finally not outnumbered? Why didn't we hear this from Derek during BB21? I get why we didn't hear it during BB22, but Derek put his foot in his mouth by picking the wrong time to say it. He says the game needs elements where a comp can't just keep you safe, but that's what the social game is, Derek. Great social game, great social players avoid the block even on weeks they shouldn't. Isn't that what Ozza has been doing? Why is Derek focusing on social game for DX when he isn't even a social player? Is Derek caping for Claire's game under the guise that he's defending DX because Claire is actually a social player whose game is ruined when DX gets backdoored? I don't get his angle here because he's an Xavier fan on his channel, making me very confused. Then someone suggests to Derek they make all 3 picks automatically house guest choice for Veto to keep the social game part of the Veto draw. What? Y'all ain't even, this ain't even Big Brother no more. Y'all trying to play. These rule changes, you never want to take all of the luck out of the game. That's what makes the game the game. Like, I hate it when the NFL got rid of kickoffs. Like, oh, people get injured too much during kickoff. We like kickoffs, though. Maybe you don't think we do, but we do. We like seeing someone get sent to the shadow realm. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, my point, I digress. My problem with this suggestion is the chance and luck has always been in the game. The minute you remove the chips of names and solely make them house guest choice, you take the suspense out of the veto pick draw itself. I mean, why watch it on TV then? Imagine if Survivor fans said, you know that immunity idol people find because they are searching tirelessly? How about we create a way where everyone can search the same area at the same time for idols? That's not Survivor anymore then. And what they are asking for wouldn't be real Big Brother. Don't change it just because black folks live in their best life now. This season has the best rating in years. Better ratings than All Stars that y'all pre-gamed for. Why would you want to change anything after this season compared to the others? See my larger point? Oh, man. Derek, of course, finds it interesting for the HOH and veto players to all pick who they play, who plays, because it isn't relying on luck. But this is the same guy who benefited greatly from Team America during his season, which made it impossible for Donnie or Frankie to get him out. He didn't complain that that twist was overpowered for him, but it definitely muzzled the biggest competition to his, Cody, and Victoria's final three. I'm stating this to show everyone benefits from luck, and Derek shouldn't be looking to change anything if he thought the game was fine after 21 and 22. His winner circle show wouldn't even be possible without a pregame alliance before 22. Was that fair to the other All-Stars that season? The Cookout had no pregame alliance, and they are more dominant than any alliance ever conceived. It's time for people to give them props, not make changes. But all this further tells me why we need to enjoy this while it lasts, because next season we ain't getting no other Cookout. They gonna try to change a whole bunch of stuff up because we too good at this now. Peep gang. I truly appreciate this alliance because they have made me proud to be a fan of the game by watching them mist every non-Cookout HOH and keep it pushing. It's just a shame others can't swallow their pride and celebrate this black excellence with us. Exposed. Someone needs to let Derek know. His problems with this season was black folks' problem for 20 years. All his complaints black fans have made before, but we weren't heard until it was convenient for sponsors of the show. But I digress. My point is, the timing of his statements, he should have known would be misconstrued. And because you've made these statements, people will expect for you to keep making them if black people happen to be outnumbered in the future. David was the first boot of BB21, and the comp he lost was in pitch black. I don't remember Derek saying the game wasn't fair back then. I don't remember him saying everyone deserved a flashlight. You feel what I'm saying? Are you afraid of the dark? Huh? Nickelodeon? I don't remember him saying all that. This man had Bomb Squad and detonators. He had Battle of the Block and Team America. Had Victoria, who was a deer in headlights. Had Christine, who turned on Nicole for no reason. Had Frankie, who turned on Zach for no reason. Had Caleb not even trying to win. He was just sexually following another woman. I'm going to say that. Derek had less competition during his season than the Cookout had to deal with this season. Let's keep it real. The Cookout were in the Infinity War this season. Derek played against a whole bunch of JV athletes. I'm just keeping it real, dog. Really think about it. Christian and DX on their own washes everybody that was on BB16. Not named Derek and Cody, I mean. DX and Christian on their own washes everyone from BB16, not named Derek and Cody. So why is the narrative this is a steamroll? They just outplayed these people. And this time around, we actually had black players who were different archetypes that had different skills and tools in their locker, which allowed them all to have different roles, which made it impossible to figure out how the sausage was made. These things should be applauded. They shouldn't be scrutinized. And that's facts, man. You know? Derek fought in a battle that pales in comparison to the Infinity War during BB23. Christian and DX on their own washes everybody from BB16 not named Derek and Cody. I gotta make sure the truth is said here so people appreciate this alliance and don't take it for granted. The Cookout is goated at this point if they make Final Six. I think they're already goated, honestly, but I'm just saying. And they got a lot of players with great legacies nervous because it makes their legacy look less shiny by comparison. Think about it. If Xavier wins this game, I personally believe he's a better player than Derek. I'm not saying Derek is hating on X, but I am saying idols might be becoming rivals. As for the power rankings, ladies and gentlemen, they are as follows. Ozza gets 5th place, Kylan 4th place, Xavier 3rd place, SB 2nd place, and Alyssa, as promised, is my 1st place for making sure 2 black men did not touch that block at the same time. Now I'm ready to answer y'all questions. I want to hear y'all thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, and I feel like I gave a great rebuttal to Derek, a respectful rebuttal, but one that I think is thought-provoking, one that'll make him look in the mirror and realize, I could have phrased my narrative a little bit better. I could have timed it at a better time during a better season than that. But with that said, we move. So yes, get your comments ready, ladies and gentlemen. It's lit in these streets. I hope y'all have enjoyed this rant. I tried to make this rant jam-packed for y'all. You feel me? You feel me? Y'all know I love y'all. And please do not forget, of course, to like the video, comment underneath it, and share with all of the fans of Big Brother 23 that you rock with. Facts. Caleb was on that other stuff. He was on that Brent stuff. I'm just saying what it is. You know? And see, I'm not the one to reply to somebody on Twitter no more. I don't care about them back and forth anymore. Like, I don't. You know what I mean? But the reason why I say those tweets and talked about it on the channel is because at the end of the day, it's important to show, you know what? Let's not make this an adversarial debate. Let's make this a logical one. At the end of the day, Derek may have had some interesting arguments there, but it's when you decide to make these arguments that make you look funny. That's it. But I'm ready to hear y'all questions. Rod asked the question, Coach, why are Tiff and Hannah currently trying to still keep DX even when he hasn't hit the block yet? You got to understand. They know. And when I say they, I mean Tiff. I don't really think Hannah cares that much. I think Hannah is just she's trying to act like she still cares because Tiff cares. You know what I'm saying? I think Hannah knows if DX is gone, she appears to be alone, which helps her game long term. This is what Tiffany should have recognized last week by letting Claire go. This is why Tiffany is being avoided like the plague now, because Claire is still there. So they're like, okay, all right, you don't want to be Jack and Jill going down the hill so much. All right, y'all could be alone. You know? That's just the truth of it all here, man. You know? It is what it is. Oh, that's what's up, Steve P. Good to have you here, Coach. Good to have you. That's a good point. The cast as a whole is much more competent than BB16. Thank you, Donnie Jones. Are you the real Donnie? Huh? Let me find out that Donnie from BB16 got a burner account and he low-key sneak dissing Derek, right? I'm joking, man. I'm joking. I just thought it was funny someone named Donnie would say that first. He said that's a good point. This cast is a whole lot more competent than BB16. Derek, Levasseur, and Cody would get washed if they were in this house. And see, that's the thing. I honestly believe a lot of legends would get beaten by this alliance. This alliance is stacked, man. You got social threats. You got physical threats. You got all around threats. And then you got Big D, who might not seem like he do too much, but his game is difficult to catch wind of too. Big D, he's growing with time too. Big D and Ozza remind me a lot of players like Adele. Those players, like when people get sent out the house, they're never mad at Big D and Ozza when they leave. I'm telling you, yo, Big D could end up winning versus Kylan in Final 2. I think he could win easily against Kylan in Final 2. That's the crazy part. Like, this game, man, listen. This game gonna be good down the line, man. It's gonna be good. Aaron Taylor asked the question. Shout outs to you, Aaron. Coach, are you concerned Xavier being in confinement and the mediator and the voice of reason? Whoa. Are you concerned Xavier being in confinement and the mediator and the voice of reason is going? Oh, I see what you're saying. Am I worried during his confinement that him being so important to the team is going to hurt the team? Well, it all depends when he has to go into 24-hour confinement. As long as this confinement happens after DX gets backdoored, I don't care. But if it happens before DX gets backdoor, something can change. And then before we know it, well, actually, it has to happen after, because why would you put a guy in confinement before he takes stuff off the block? That don't even make any sense. So, at the end of the day, as long as the confinement happens after DX is on the block next to Claire, I don't feel like the cookout is in trouble at all. In fact, I think with Xavier being gone, you're going to see a lot of people trying to probably get more answers out of Alyssa. If I'm Alyssa, I hide in that HOH room with SB while Xavier's gone for a day. You feel it, dig me? Play it smart, Alyssa. Don't get cornered by nobody. You feel it, dig me? Because, see, Alyssa would never keep DX anyway, So, smart move for Alyssa is to try to make Claire and Tiffany believe she isn't on to them. Now, SB did snitch to everyone on that side because she's trying to work with Jackpot. She did tell them Alyssa said those things about Tiffany during the HOH comp. So the thing is, Claire and DX were sworn to secrecy to not say specifically what Alyssa said about Tiffany. I don't believe they actually said that to her on feeds just yet. To my knowledge, all they have said is that Alyssa and X have thrown us under the bus. So it's still a little bit vague. She doesn't know for sure what was said about her. But I think we're going to be okay with Xavier with that 24 hours. In fact, I think Xavier's going to think of a lot of gameplay implementations to put through with them 24 hours away from the house, and I think he's going to come back stronger. I think he'll need to shave after, but other than that, he'll come back strong, man. Lee Parks asked the question, do you think Big D will make it to Final 3 like Victoria? I honestly believe Big D is he is twice the player Victoria ever was. Let's keep it real. This is part of the reason why this season has better players per capita than BB16 has. BB16 may have had better influencers. BB16 may have had better personalities. They didn't have better game players. Sorry. Even if they had 3 winners on that season. Let's keep it real. Nicole only beat Paul because of feminism. Cody won because of a pregame alliance. And at the end of the day, Cody really should have won 16 because he should have took Victoria over Derek. So reality, Derek shouldn't even won that season. It took a Cody choke for him to win his season. So at the end of the day, I'm not trying to throw shade necessarily, but people should count their blessings here. Like, Derek, you benefited for a lot of predetermined things during your season. A lot of twists that was out of a lot of people's control. Now all of a sudden, there should be a way for people to get themselves off the block that doesn't involve a comp. So you want production to step in? Like, what are you really asking for, right? Like, this creates more questions. It doesn't create more solutions. I wonder if they show the high roller results in jury. I don't know. With Brittany being alone for a whole week, they might have to give her something. You might have to give her 8 seasons of Game of Thrones to watch for a week. You feel it, Demi? Oliver asked the question, Coach, which non-cookout house guest is getting evicted next week? I think SB is getting sent right back. It's getting sent out right after DX. I believe the Infinity Stone she has taken from taking out DX, it is creating way too much of a threat on her, way too much of a high profile. She's got to go. And I think a lot of people will want her to go right after because they'll want to show DX we got her, And if Hannah gets that secret power, takes out SB with it, DX knows the history between Hannah and SB, DX, that will buy DX's vote no matter who Hannah's next to if she makes Final 2. So for Hannah's game, her winner's edit starts next week too if she gets that coin flip. I agree. I agree with you, Devin. Fans can't hate on X for DX being back there. This ain't even X. X got put on the block because of a twist. X ain't doing none of this. And this is why I told you SB winning that HOH was great. It let him off the hook. They can't hate him. He going to get 100 next week probably. You feel me? B Grizzly says, will Big D sleep his way to the finals? Honestly, bro, call me crazy. I think Big D is going to get us a HOH win and a veto before the end of this game. Call me crazy. I've seen too many things. I've seen JC win an HOH in like Final 4. Or what was that, Final 5? When was that? When JC won and he got Angela taken out? Was that Final 4 when he did that? He spoiled the plan because Tyler wanted Angela and Casey with him in Final 3. JC wins the HOH out of nowhere, just throws a wrench in the plans. I think Big D is gonna yoke. He gonna get fortunate at some point, And this is why luck should be in the game. That's how we get these unexpected HOH wins because a lot of these comps, they're designing comps that should be a little luck behind them. You don't want people training all life for these type of comps. You want to surprise them with different comps. That's why I'm excited for the Veto comp on Wednesday. Because it sounds like something we've never seen before. I'm excited. I ain't been this excited for a comp to watch it in a long time. But it feel like they went through an Infinity War. It looked like all of them on some crocodile hunter type stuff. They got some like Savannah gear on. Like I'm like, yo, this comp look lit. Like what's going on here? Robert Scott asked the question. Will Ozza and Big D flip this vote to use DX to target SB and Alyssa before X and Kai? No. Here's why. Ozza and Big D didn't flip the vote to keep Christian. Why would they flip it to keep DX? Big D, he wants to be the only Derrick on campus. You feel it, dig me? Ozza, after losing Brittany the way she did, listen, even if DX wanted Brittany to stay, she wanted Brittany to stay over Big D. The cookout comes first. Ozza and Big D both acknowledge DX gotta go to increase the cookout's win percentages. Claire ain't won nothing since she won that 2 weeks of safety. At the end of the day, you keep Claire every time. You keep her every time, especially since Brittany was a bigger threat than Claire. So how could Claire possibly be a bigger threat than DX? It just doesn't add up. And for that reason, Coach, even if you might not want to hear it, DX is cooked. He's in the air fryer. I'm keeping it a bean tonight. Big D has won 100 BB bucks 2 weeks in a row. Did very well on the last HOH comp. It should be a very good option. Honestly, he impressed me a lot in that balance. Listen. I would have did worse than that. I'm gonna keep it a bean in these streets, huh? You feel it in me? Come on, man. Like, I would have been the dude with some Timbs on trying to. No, let me stop. For real though. The way he busted his stuff when he fell off, man, I was worried he injured himself. You know what I'm saying? But he did say he had a little knock on him, but he still won the veto, so he all right. I think DF could beat Kylan, Donnie. I think he could, and I think that would shock folks. I think that would shock Kylan at the end for him to lose to Big D. You know, I ain't even gonna go there. I'm gonna leave it alone. I can understand why you don't want to see DF in Final 3. I can understand why some of y'all might not want to see Ozza in Final 3, but it feels like the majority of y'all can see Ozza's game has improved immensely, so you're more open to seeing her there than DF. That's fair. Plus, once again, DF should not be calling a black woman the B word on national TV. That shouldn't be rewarded. I think it's quite toxic that Big D keeps getting rewarded after he said that, but Tiffany got negative reinforcement as soon as she raised her voice. So it does show that support is strong with the rainbow. So it is what it is. All right, get you a bag of Skittles, Tiffany. You'll be all right. You feel it? Dig me? You know, it is what it is. Eddie James has a question. Who do you think Alyssa will target after DX is gone? I think she goes after Claire and Tiffany. I do. Based off of Alyssa's talking points and her one-on-one with SB this week, she feels totally betrayed by Claire and Tiffany. She sees how they are around DX. They have been around DX ever since Christian got backdoored. From her perspective, oh, y'all was with him the whole time on that entire move. So she's on a warpath to show Christian, oh, all these people who have something to do with your downfall, they're going to pay. This is like the movie Taken. You could call it if Derek Frazier wrote the script, it would be called E-Vote. And you just got Alyssa looking mad as hell, eye patch on the Tomb Raider side of the game, AK in her hand. You know what I mean? It's lit in these streets. Call it E-Vote. You know what I mean? Nanye asked the question, who do you think Ozza needs to sit next to in Final 2 in order to win? I think she wins next to Big D. I think she wins next to Kylan. I think she wins. Ooh, does she beat Hannah? Ooh, that's tough. Ooh. Ooh, yeah, whew, that's a toughie. I don't know. If I'm Ozza, I don't risk that versus Hannah. I don't risk it. That seems scary. I wouldn't risk it versus Tiffany or Hannah. I'd risk it versus Kai or Big D. But knowing Ozza, you know what? Hey man, listen. And I stand on this, and I'm serious here. I really do think Xavier likes Ozza romantically. I do now. I didn't see it before, but when she put her hair up in that ponytail, he been looking at her differently ever since. I've been seeing it. And when she been laying with DX, oh, she letting him know, hey man, listen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got options too now. You know what I'm saying? Then you got Alyssa laying with him. And see, I can see the way Ozza looking at Alyssa like, it's only a matter of time. You know what I'm saying? So, at the end of the day, I don't want to cause no no battle between these two ladies for Xavier's signature necessarily. But I think Xavier's downplaying how attracted he is to Ozza. I think he's downplaying it. And I think if there comes a time in this game where Ozza does something for him that no other woman has done for him, that's when Xavier gonna keep it a bean, and he probably gonna start to choose. I think it's gonna happen. Now, to keep it fair, Alyssa did a lot of work to keep Xavier from being on the block next to Big D this week. I get that. But the cookout, there's a connection there. That's a bond that's a bit unbreakable, and it's going to be hard for Alyssa to ever penetrate that. For that reason, I see him most likely being with Ozza before her. Now, if he becomes the first boot in Final Six, he might be pissed off with these black folks, and he might just get it cracking in jury. But we'll never see that. So, hey, if a tree fall in the forest and we weren't there to see it, did it happen? So, shouts to Spicy V and Rohan. Shouts to you, Davis. 20 years versus 20 days, coach. He says, take my money, coach. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. I think he likes her too, Nanye. I can see it now. I can see it. Listen, man, she been coming correct. And when I say coming correct, I don't mean simping. I don't mean cater to you, boy. I don't mean all that stuff. I just mean, listen. You know what I mean? You can tell when she's stepping her game up around you a little bit. You ain't going to point it out because you don't want her to stop or do too much, but you notice. Robert asked the question, if DX leaves, will production give out double BB bucks so someone, maybe Claire, can use the power? Judging by what just happened in this veto comp full of punishments, I think Claire may have used the 100 she just got this week on trying to win the veto over Xavier. I think Claire's broke again. Like, unless they straight up, we got 250 for you right now, cut off your finger. Like, I just don't think Claire can get 250 in a week now. If she does, listen, welcome to rig, bro. I don't even think they can afford to rig it that hard. You know what I'm saying? Listen, let's keep it a bean. Yes. Oh yeah, DX got a crush too. He do too. And Ozza should have multiple crushes. That's right. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't just be one woman in this house that get chosen on. They all should get a little bit of choosies. You know what I'm saying? Monica says, why am I always so annoyed when... okay, never mind. I thought that was a question to me. DX's only flaw is putting trust in the wrong people, namely Hannah. Ooh, you ain't lying, Nanye. You ain't lying. But it seems as if you all enjoyed this rant. I don't want to make this rant any longer than it needs to be. I'm going to get out of y'all hair. I hope y'all have enjoyed this. We just crossed the 9-hour barrier. So I guess this is a good time to wrap this up. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you could, please do not forget to like this video, comment underneath it, and share with all of the fans of Big Brother 23 that you rock with. I'm, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, and this is Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. And I hope y'all have enjoyed yourselves. And I'll see you all for the next Patreon rant on Wednesday night, all right? And I hope y'all have enjoyed this. Deuces.